You like jazz?
I can hear it just like a tiny little bit.
Oh my god, I'm trying to get
little
down.
tinkles in the background.
No, I like it.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think that's something
well,
we should just have like
can you hear
for
it
for all the live streams. Is
yeah,
just
we're gonna
like
be we're gonna get hit with copyrights and stuff. You like jazz?
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully
I can hear it just
oh,
like a tiny little bit.
My iPhone has volume.
No, because I mean, it's amazing how specific that algorithm is. Where like it'll pick up stuff where you're like, you heard that?
Yeah.
I think even covers now are getting copyright struck.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Even when you have the license, like for some of the videos that I've put out where I actually had the license, the algorithm is still getting tripped. So it's pretty aggressive. All right. So yeah, we're live. How's it going, everyone? See Martin in the chat. Last Rhino, how's it going?
How goes it? Martin, the man from Germany. Last Rhino. Stefano. Gary Griffiths. Ace of Spades.
We're just saying names. Yeah.
Nothing to talk about.
No, we've got an exciting show for you guys today.
As much as we pose to be professionals, guys, honestly, today we don't have a particular topic to discuss.
I figure what we could talk about though is the stuff that we've reviewed in the recent week, right? So, I mean, most recently, Chrono got to review the Sennheiser HD800S without breaking it. So that was a nice.
Without breaking it, but the one with the shot where it was broken, that was a prop, guys. That was a prop. That was not. That was
you were
that was a prop.
Right.
I love the comments on that one. Somebody said, "What? Great, you didn't break it."
Yeah, half of them were about me not breaking the headphone. No, it's safe and sound. I'm listening to some smooth jazz right now.
It's good. It goes to show that people are paying attention to what you're doing, breaking headphones in your spare time. But okay, so I mean, Sennheiser HD800S, you liked it, obviously.
Yeah.
But you obviously like it. We'll talk about that next, actually, because that's important as well.
Yeah,
for Tyler's.
Wanted to ask about it.
Yeah. But as far as the HD800S goes, you'd said that you liked the Arya better potentially, but that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the main reason you like the HD800S more is comfort. Is that fair to say?
You need to get one of these, by the way, Chrono.
Oh, the headband thing?
ZMF pilot pad.
Oh, it's just fine on my head. Well, okay, I think it's a mix of things, right? Like they're very similar. I'd say the HD800S in the treble is actually warmer, but it's spikier. So that could I think that's what can make the treble one, I think, more disruptive for some people. I think, but I use EQ anyway, so that was not an issue. And okay, so yeah, the first thing was comfort for me. There's something about the Arya, like it puts like a bit of pressure here at the top, and then also the bottom because it just goes down so long. And for me, it was a little bit clampy, but then again, as we all know, I have big head issues, so that's the thing.
Big head issues, big brain issues.
I was gonna say big brain issues.
That's what they say about people with big heads, is that they have big brains.
I thought they had small feet.
That's what they say. That's what they say. There's no debate about that.
Yeah. The HD800S, like, to me, it sounded just a little bit more open. Okay, the bass was, I think that's hands down goes to the Arya, but at the same time, there was this sort of, I don't know, it's transients and its decay sounds just a little bit more natural to me than on the Arya. So I guess I also appreciated that. And
natural timbre memes for dynamic driver headphones.
I'm leaving. So that's how I ended up going with the HD800S. Also, again, it's just superbly comfortable. I mean, I wear this all day now, so.
Yeah. Actually, the HD800 is a really key thing to remember too, though, with the HD800, and it's what always keeps me coming back to it and not getting rid of it, is tubes. HD800 and tubes is a magic thing.
That's a very good pairing, yeah.
Actually using the LX off of a tube amp right now. For everybody in the chat, let us know how the volume levels are. We did try and do a volume test earlier, but just want to make sure that it's okay for everybody on your end. Yeah, tubes. It's pretty crazy how much of a difference tubes can make. And well, I mean, I guess we might as well talk about some of the amp stuff. But Tyler, why don't you tell us about your newest?
Well, I'm borrowing this.
Well, it's beyond
Jeremy,
infatuation at this point.
And it's beyond yeah, like I'm pretty much gonna probably yard sale a bunch of stuff here soon because of that. The wonderful Chord TT2, and it's a very, very expensive all-in-one DAC amp. The crazy part about it is that it has more power than the Phonitor, which is right below it. The other thing is it sounds really good. Even like it sounds really good even through the Phonitor. Like that's something. It's like it has the Phonitor
because you're using the DAC.
Yeah, it's the DAC, and it has a really cool. It just sounds really good. And then comparing it to like the Bifrost 2, I mean, you're talking about a $600, $500 DAC versus a 5,000 plus all-in-one, right? So kind of a unique thing. Actually, I have the Bifrost sitting right here. Let's do that. There you go. As an example. And so for me though, like it's definitely disrupted a lot of what I didn't want to like it. Let's put it that way, because my wallet is now crying in the corner with thoughts of what I want to do. But with that, like it's definitely one of the more it's just awesome, honestly. Like I really, really like it. And then I think about things like, okay, well, it's really expensive, but then I'm looking at, I have a Phonitor sitting right here. I have the RME, I have the Bifrost 2, I have some other stuff on my audio shelf over there. And this kind of does a lot of what that stuff does for almost the same price, right? So it's not that big of a leap when you actually look at it in that term, right? With that sense of it. So I might be fire selling some stuff.
For me, I think I get more excited about like tube amps that are really expensive, like instead of solid state, just because I know that it's going to change the sound more significantly. Like the TT2. I have heard it, and it does sound amazing. I mean, heard both the TT2. Sorry, it's the Chord tabletop.
Yeah, Chord tabletop to Hugo. It's basically tabletop. It's yeah, because everyone's the original TT Hugo was a portable device, and then everyone was using it as a desktop solution. So Chord was like, let's
exactly,
and that's where the TT2 came out.
Yeah. A long time ago, I heard the Dave, and actually I heard the TT2 when it just came out. And listened to that with a Focal Clear actually, and was pretty impressed with both of them. But then the guy showed me the price tag, and I was like, no.
That's exactly my problem, man. It's like I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is great. Then you see the price, and you're like, and I actually was just at a friend's house earlier this week, and we were discussing chord stuff and what have you, and the M scaler and how, and he's got the full Dave stack, like so he's got the Dave and the Etude and the CD transport with M scaler built in, and then he's also got the TT2 with M scaler stack, and so the marbles on the wonderful M scaler does add some pretty amazing stuff. Granted, you're also talking now, if you were to stack it, is like a ridiculous price of like almost 10 grand, and then the Dave by itself is like 10 grand plus. So the stuff is bananas. Some of the stuff that
it's even worse in Canada.
yeah right. And I think that I was talking to some other guys in the different Discord chat about it a little bit, and it's like the Bifrost 2 gets you 90% of the way to what the Chord stuff does, right? So and same with the RME. The RME, like that thing's fantastic. Like it gets you 90% of the way to what a lot of these higher end DAC stuff. So, and I was saying, to me, like it's what it is those type of gear, right? So the RME, the Bifrost 2, these things are extreme values, right? That are basically good enough for 90+% of the population in audiophile world, right? And
well, they're more than good enough for
more than good enough. Yeah, like you're talking, this is ridiculous levels. And so, then the people that chase like the Chord stuff or these other things that are like ridiculous prices, you're talking about the people that are also in it just for the chase as well, right? So like, like they're in that chase for that last percentage of value or audio, not value, but like value to them in the sense of like audio gains that they're getting or chasing that wow moment, or chasing, you know, and then also aesthetic, because a lot of it also goes into aesthetic, because chord stuff is, I mean, specifically the chord stuff is literally an aluminum block that they freaking
Right.
convert into a amp deck thing. But anyways, that's my take on it is it's really good, and I would not go into debt for one, but if you had the means to get one without going into debt, then it's a great thing, and it would replace a lot of stuff on your desk, and it's a nice small form factor, and yeah.
Do you consider yourself one of the people who likes it for the chase of it?
I like, for me, my reasoning for it is to gain back some desk space, and I really like the aesthetics part of it. So there's a couple parts, but yes, I'm not in it, like, I'm not like the hardcore 1% chase, but I'm also
like
you know
who
I mean?
that is who you're talking about.
but like I want to, like, for me, like, I want to have a nice looking, fantastic sounding thing that can replace a lot of my other stuff, and if it's within the ballpark of that other stuff in price, then that makes sense to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so for me, that's my chase. And I'm also a gearhead. Like, I love new toys. Like, who doesn't like new toys? So sometimes it's that too, you know?
So what you're saying is that a HD6XX and a topping L30 just isn't good enough for you.
No. I'm gonna get burned, I'm sure, for that, but, like, you know,
no, it's not enough for me either. I'm right there with you, man.
And yeah, I mean, you got the Elex on right now, like that. Think about that, like, that's a perfect example. Like, I did this with I had the 6XX, and then I bought the Elex this is a couple years back, and I was like, why would you? Yeah, like, and the 6XX literally got sold shortly after, because just was it's as much as it can scale, the 6XX, 650s, 600s.
Yeah.
There's a limit.
We've been down that road. Road. Yeah, we know.
So.
Last Rhino's all about that. He says, Tyler, the problem is that you will want a new toy 3 months in 3 months, and now you're playing in the 4K leagues for DACs.
Yeah, but see,
pretty soon it's going to be the DCS Bartok and whatever else.
Maybe, but like, I personally, I'd rather spend more money on headphones. So that's my other reason for getting something like this, where I can go, like, I want to go. My goal right now for all my amps and DACs is to, like, I want what my favorite, personally, like, hybrid tube amp, a tube OTL, and a solid state. So right now, and the DAC, of course. So right now, what I'm looking at keeping is probably the Chord TT2. I'll probably keep the Bifrost just because it's such a good DAC, R2R DAC too. I have the T4 from ECP. I'll probably move along the Fonder XE. I'll probably move along the KN HA1A. I'll keep the Bottlehead because I I built it. And I'm the ones that are on the chopping block are the Fonder and the RME, to be honest, right now.
Okay.
And then I'm looking at, like, maybe one of the KN tube amps, not the big 300B, but the baby one, to that. But I don't know. I was looking.
What's the baby one called?
It's like it's the something.
Oh, the boat one. The one that's
not the boat. I have the boat one.
Oh, okay.
There's another one that looks just like the 300B. It's the same form factor.
The big one with the big.
Yeah, that's the 300B one, and then there's one that just came out that's like the smaller. It doesn't use 300B. So
okay. I didn't know they came up with a smaller one.
Yeah,
I remember when that one that first came out, and I was like, "Holy smokes!" Like, and it's using like a cage around it and stuff like that. I was like, "Whoa, those tubes are massive."
Which, that's my kind of my end game right now, is to just kind of get down to, like, the distilled tube DAC, like the amp DAC situation, and then I can just focus on headphones, because to me that's my favorite part of this hobby is the headphones themselves.
What do you think about? We've talked a little bit about this in the past, for everybody in the call, but you know, there's like the gear chase where we do end up getting gear that sounds like, let's say, quite a bit better than something like a 650 or, you know, like, let's say more, you know, budget oriented stuff. But for the specific activity of just, you know, listening to music and just the simple, like, enjoyment of music, where does that factor into, like, the chase? Like, do you think there's a risk of sometimes, like, caring too much about the chase for the perfect synergy and the perfect end game and the perfect, you know, that we sometimes miss the music aspect of it?
Precog.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Like I've
Yeah.
noticed that as I've listened to more stuff, I've just gotten more and more critical, and sometimes it's really easy to lose myself in the actual like technical performance and stuff like that, instead of actually enjoying my music for what it is. Especially as a reviewer, I think, because you're always critically analyzing stuff.
Yeah.
So you have to be critical almost to make distinctions between what's good for you and what's not, what you don't like as much, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely a thing for sure.
And it's difficult, I find, as well. Like, I mean, when you're in like reviewer mode and you start listening for things differently from the way that you would normally, like, I'm trying to make it now so like at least one of the days of the week I'm just like not caring at all about like the evaluation of something, which it's challenging once you're like in
Take the
that
grass
mode,
away
like,
from him.
take what?
The
Yeah,
grass.
exactly. Take the grass away.
Take the measurements away.
Yeah. No, that's just if I want to be, that's just there so I can be pedantic online. but yeah, like just the idea of being able to, it reminds me of like when I was in undergrad, I remember taking a bunch of like literature classes, and they teach you this like thing about how to do like close reading and close analysis of like literature and stuff like that. And I remember like after doing those, like, yeah, it was useful, and I got really good at it. But I remember afterwards thinking, I can't enjoy any, like, I just don't enjoy reading things anymore, because
and then like sometimes you wonder like, are you reading too much into it as well?
Yeah.
Because you don't know the author's intention too. That's the thing.
Oh yeah,
like,
exactly.
do they want for you to hear it like this if we apply it to headphones?
Yeah. Now, are we going too far there? It's interesting because there's a segment of like, let's say the core communities, and we know who, these communities on Discord and on the forums and stuff like that. There's a segment of let's say audiophiles who they'll specifically not look for the most detailed and like clear and sharp and kind of stuff, fastest performing stuff, in favor of the most natural and the most smooth and the most like easy listening kind of stuff. And I definitely, like, for what I personally get excited about in the morning, it is the more detailed and technically capable and interesting stuff in that sense. But I can totally understand and like appreciate, the side of it where it's just like, I just want my music to sound good, period.
Yeah,
and then not worry about any of the rest of the stuff.
I almost kind of envy that, because like,
yeah,
you're probably saving tons of money in the long run if you think about it. If you're able to find satisfaction.
Yeah, in that case, maybe you do just get a 6XX and L30 or something like that. Or, 600 for people who prefer 600.
Yeah, find your own truth and find your own path, and be happy with what you like, and stick with it, I guess, right?
Yeah. No, we agree to disagree on that. We've had those philosophical conversations. We don't need to talk about Kant in this stream. Chrono, what do you think?
What was the original question again? It was, what, like, how do we feel about the whole audio chase and the
Yeah.
Are you chasing for the gear, or are you chasing for the music? What's the...
Man, that's... See, for me, because, thankfully, I've been able to try out a whole slew of things throughout this year. And for me, I've kind of already decided what I enjoy the most. And you're gonna think I'm a Sennheiser fanboy, but the two headphones that I could just sit down and think to myself, like, yeah, this is how I want to hear music. This makes me happy. So far, have been the HD600 and the HD800S. So for me now, it's like, well, I think of headphones like they all have. If this is what I personally consider to be neutral and natural sense, as in like, oh, if I'm next to an instrument, I would expect it to sound like this sort of. I then look for, what kind of flavor or what kind of characteristic, what kind of energy do other headphones bring that could make them, that gives them their own charm compared to what I consider to be, neutral or whatever. So I'm not so interested in the other things, but I still appreciate what other headphones do. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but you've narrowed it down partially also as a result of the experience that you have, right? Because you have, the breadth of experience that you have. Because, like, imagine that you only had the opportunity to listen to the 6XX or the 600 or whatever else, right? Would you know already that you're like, oh, this is the kind of sound that I like, that I know that I like?
Well, the only thing I can give is like my real life example, right? When I first got into this, I was looking for, well, I was about to go off to college, and I was gonna get a QC35 from Bose.
Back when you were still young.
Yeah, but and then up on my and I already had it in my cart and on Amazon, and then on the recommended it showed Sennheiser reference headphone. I was like, well, my dad, I come from music family, they like Sennheiser. It said reference. I was like, oh, I'm curious as to what that sounds like. So I ditched the Bose and I went with the HD650, one of the original Irish made ones, but happened to be on sale on Amazon. And I loved it then, and I mean, it's still something. It's one of the things that I love the most. So I guess that personally, I could say that even though I have tried all the other stuff, sincerely, I could be happy with that myself.
Reference sounds nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, well,
In the title.
yeah.
All these.
I was curious. I was like,
Reference
what
in the
does
title.
what does reference headphone mean, right? And I was like, and yeah, it just, I don't know.
Then you get stuff like the PM50 back there. You can't see it. It's
the flat reference.
Flat reference as in literally no ear gain. I didn't say it.
Yeah.
You were expecting me to say it. But
Chrono took a Sennheiser to the ear, and his adventuring days were over.
Yeah. Speaking of Sennheiser, DMS sent this over. The HD560S. I'm trying to make it so that the light catches it appropriately.
There's something about that, like, excuse me if I'm going to probably trigger some people, but
Trigger
I
away,
honestly don't necessarily like the aesthetic of that model. Does that make sense?
This specific
I
model?
agree. It looks kind of bulky on the, like
bulbous,
the
like bulbous and weird. Like,
yeah.
I love the HD800. I love actually even the 6 series. I like those. I like those better, like that aesthetic, right? Like just
This pardon me, this feels more rickety.
oh yeah,
Definitely feels like the build is not as good as the 600 series.
I actually kind of miss the marble top finish.
Oh,
for
yeah.
the HD600.
No, man, I can't.
Yeah,
stand
it looks nice. It grows on you, man.
I
prefer the
did like it
drop
when I
look.
saw it. Yeah.
Like the HD600 I have is like this like sort of bluish gray, and I was like, oh, I really wish it was a countertop finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint with the 560S, single entry cable. Yes, it's 3.5 millimeter, but at least I think it is. Double check. No, it's not. It's not 3.5. This is balanced, actually. Well, I guess that makes sense because it's only single entry. So TRRS we're going with. But yeah, single entry cable means it's a little more annoying to, but I guess it's standard enough that you could probably get an aftermarket one for it, which I do recommend because the cable is like nuts on this thing. It's just not normal.
Dude, that's something that's always bothered me about some of these things is the cable. Like the cables, like especially like some of the IEMs even too. Like I have a couple IEMs here right now, and like some you get and you're just like, oh, that is fantastic. And same with headphone cables, right?
Yeah.
Like some you'll get, you're like, this is great, and then the other one you get and you're just like, yeah, you're like, what the heck is this?
That's the
I don't know if you kept up with like mice news, but last year there was a bit of a paracord flex cable revolution in the mice industry because Biomass was doing
they caught up,
and hopefully we see something similar. And
I actually have a cool keyboard cable coming for my keyboard cable.
For Hifiman?
One of the aviator connector ones.
No, yeah, it is. It's from P for Pho. From the forum and Discords. So here's and actually Resolve, you can actually speak on this too. So this is the Clairvoyance.
They're okay. The cables are okay. They're not my favorite though.
The silver, does it come with the same silver like this one?
Yeah, looks like it.
And it has like the crazy
yeah.
Come on, you can do this. You can do this.
Yeah. It looks the same.
It has the crazy dongles.
It's like it's fine. It's just it's a little on the thick side.
It's thick, yeah, but it feels better. But then I have the okay. So here's I have the Blessed.
The cable on the Odin was ridiculous.
I really like the look of the cable for your Verite.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the Verite cable. That's the four strand Verite cable that I have for that. That
looks really
back there, and that's my favorite cable, man. That thing's amazing. That was a present to myself when I got the Verite closed.
See, using the LX, Unfortunately, I mean, I said it in
The
our
ELEX?
chat earlier. The Focal cables make me want to end it all. Like they just make like life has no meaning when you have to use these cables.
I mean, I'm rocking aftermarket. Speaking of paracord.
yeah, really. Like I'm at the point where I want to buy 3.5 millimeter, like something from Periapt or something, you know, like
I think that's what this
something
one is.
just simple, because I can't stand how terrible so many cable manufacturers who make great headphones will, you know, reliably make very terrible cables. You know, Hi-Fi Man is like this. The only company that so far has consistently made amazing cables is Odyssey. Actually, I mean, I should say ZMF as well.
Cable was pretty.
Well, did you?
Which one
was
did
that? Yeah, because like, was it the stranded one?
Yeah.
Or was it like the rubber?
The black one is fine.
One.
It's fine. It's like light and easy.
Well, it's
and
light,
to use.
yeah, but it doesn't
tangle. No way, man! It's so much easier to use than like this stuff. Like, what is this?
Oh yeah, I mean,
this is a like.
That's like a flat cable.
You know,
that's why.
This is okay.
That one's good. The H800 one is pretty decent.
It's okay.
I
don't mind it.
Yeah.
It's long. That's the which can be fine.
Okay. Well, the question is,
do this. I don't know if you can see this, but you know, I have it tied up with like a Velcro thing.
That's what I usually have mine with the Velcro too. I usually keep it and then whatever left.
I was going to say the ZMF aftermarket ones are pretty nice, but
yeah, even the OCC one is really good. The rubbery one. Not the flat
that one's
cable.
fine. No, the flat one is a bit odd.
Yeah, that I would. Always.
Yeah,
upgrade.
but the upgrade cable's nice, and then the high end ones are really nice. Yeah, but really nice. Question is, how does it sound?
They're neck candy, dude. I mean,
can't get into that. Okay, like with all that stuff though, like, and including like some of the magic that we find from comparing different source gears and things like that, or source stuff that, let's say, we're just listening and enjoying and whatever. Like, part of me, as much as I know that, you know, there's not supposed to be any difference with this stuff, part of me holds out hope that one day somebody finds something and it's like, you guys are all wrong. You know, like somebody finds something like objective and measurable that's like, that actually shows that unicorn hair makes a difference, you know?
Yeah. And then
because that would be fun, right? I love that kind of like, let's, you know, subvert the orthodoxy and the norm. And
no, I agree. Like, everyone should keep asking questions and keep searching.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I don't like, I mean, I'm not the like frequent measurement stuff, right? Like, I'm not the biggest measurements guy, but I also don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's bad. I just personally, it's not my thing.
Yeah. There has been some news. I guess we should talk about some news. And then we should probably get in the chat as well. But the news being that Campfire released.
Oh yeah, the Vega and the Dorado, right?
Yeah, new Vega and Dorado. Precog. I'm gonna pass it over to you. Get your thoughts on this, because this is IEM territory and
the realm of Precog.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I haven't even heard the original ones either. I think you might have both experience with that. Yeah,
I haven't heard the Dorado.
I haven't heard the Dorado. Vega, I've heard. I wasn't a big fan.
Yeah. Vega was like, okay, so like this is gonna be a little bit of a spicy take, but like I think Campfire's made 2 good IEMs.
Yeah. No. I don't disagree at all. I mean,
I'm sorry. Like, I know they do really good. Like, they look great, and maybe some people out there like them, right? I'm sure lots of people like them, but
and the OG Solaris.
OG Solaris was good, yeah. But see, like I even know that like even the OG Solaris was like very controversial. Like, I know Kryn didn't like it, and there's a lot of people who didn't like it, and there was potentially some unit variation, stuff like that. But like, I don't know, like it's something that it's such like an easy guilty pleasure thing to just throw on and go for a walk and enjoy. And it goes back to what we were talking about before, where it's like I don't think about the gear when I'm listening to the Solaris, the OG Solaris. You know, I'm just listening to music and enjoying it, even though it might not technically be the best measuring IEM out there. But yeah. Well, I don't know. What do you think about like Campfire? Because like this isn't just about the Dorado and the Vega, because they've done refreshes and updates this year now for multiple models. How do you kind of see Campfire, I guess, in the current landscape with this, with the refreshes and the updates and stuff like that?
I mean, gonna be honest, just a little bit stagnant, I guess. I don't want to say like absolutely falling behind because they still make great stuff. Like the Andro 2020 was awesome, man. I have to say, like, I really enjoyed that IM. But yeah, it feels like they pushed out a lot of refreshes, and maybe they've kind of hit a wall. Maybe just they're spinning their wheels a little bit more than I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully they can pick it up in the future. I think they have a lot of potential, honestly, if they could just get their tunings done a little bit more, with a little bit more mass market appeal. I think that would be great. And that's sort of like the case with Empire Ears and their Odin. Like I looked at the measurements, and it's like totally different from a lot of their old stuff they were putting out, which I had to agree. Like I kind of liked it, but at the same time, it was a bit more divisive in the way it was tuned.
Was it the Valkyrie that you liked?
Yeah, I actually like the Valkyrie. Like it's a total V shape, and it's like totally bass boosted to like mad bass boosted. But I had to say I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah. That I always found they had good technical performance too, like the quality of the
definitely.
But yeah, I'm kind of right there with you with the Campfire stuff, like especially these days when you have such awesome like stuff coming out from like the audio, and I mean it's not just the audio, like Moondrop, there's a lot of companies that are doing stuff that they have the technical performance now to compete with the Campfire stuff.
Right.
And with a lot of this other stuff that's out there that comes in at much higher price tags. And like to me, it's like, yeah, they may have more of a foothold in like North America, like Campfire that is, but I think pretty soon like it's gonna require a bit of a evaluation of what the tunings are and what kind of tunings people want.
Yeah. And that's not a bad thing either.
No.
The competition is always going to benefit us as consumers, right? So
yeah.
I mean,
and yes, it's not just Campfire either. It's like every
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Well, I guess I know Chrono has so many opinions about IEMs, but I'm going to completely ignore them and go right to Tyler and say, what do you think about like IEM tunings and stuff like that these days?
So for me, when I want to listen to IEMs, like honestly, for me, I want a fun IEM. I don't really care about the accuracy or like because when I'm listening to IEMs, I'm on the go or I'm doing.
I was going to ask. Yeah, like
that's a good point.
Do you ever listen to IEMs when you're just like at home, like at your right? You're always
so because why I have I have VCs. I know. And IEMs are great, and they can compete with certain total headphones too, right? But at the same time, like I'm sorry, but if you guys didn't know this, anyone's had IEMs in your ears, if someone comes in and asks you a question, the last thing you want to do is like and like put it back in, and then
I'm okay with that.
Like,
I'm especially when you have the etymonic stuff.
That's
or if you have
customs,
I have those elastics, like those elastic. These work.
Oh, you got those new tips.
Yeah, and those are like they're sticky, and and I have pressure. I'm sensitive to pressure in my ears, so if I do that, it's like diving into a pool for me. So it's like, ugh.
So bad.
Yeah, but anyways, on that topic, to me, when I'm listening to IEMs, I want to be something fun. I want something that sounds good and is fun and isolates pretty decently and
good for on the go.
And good for on the go, right? So,
which probably means more bass is better.
Yeah, more bass is usually better.
Yeah.
And my favorites right now are the Campfire Andromeda Golds. That's the ones I own, and then the Mest, the Unique Melody Mest. Right. Are probably my top ones I listen to the most. But the Golds are my guilty pleasure. But then I really like the Monarch. That was fantastic. And then I have the Neo on demo right now, but I still need to do some more listening with that. But that one's a pretty bassy. But there's
my Neo just came in today, actually.
Oh, nice.
Oh, did you buy one?
Yeah, I bought one.
Wow.
They're fun.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
That being said, like I have the Claire here right now, Clairvoyance, the Legacy 5, the Blessing 2, and
you're gonna get a lot of questions
Legacy
in the chat about the difference between the Monarch and the Clairvoyance and which one you like better.
The Monarch for sure. The Claire is good, but I think that shelf. You have the Monarch. Or did you send it off already?
No, I have the Monarch still because the Clairvoyance just got sent out to me and I got to go pick it up. I think it
nice.
showed up. Yeah, and the P2 as well, I think.
And yeah, like so with that, like I think the Monarch has better that bass shelf factor. That is, I like it more. And the Claire is fantastic. They both have similar tuning from my short listening of ABM, and then having the Clairvoyance here now. But I would say that the Monarch just is a little more fun, if that makes sense.
Well, and that speaks to the different use cases potentially that people might have, where we might say like I don't have the Clairvoyance yet, but I imagine that if the Clairvoyance is the more, let's say, correct tuning, while the Monarch is the more fun tuning, then maybe it means that the Clairvoyance is the one that people would use if they're just sitting at home, while the Monarch is the one, if they're using it more for.
Somebody's got the cops after them.
That's me. Yeah, they heard that I was. They heard that I was, talking crap about something.
Aaron's finally calling back all his headphones, isn't he?
Yeah.
This guy, he came into my shop and he takes all my headphones.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Chrono recently had some fun with the 2020 Andromeda, I believe, right?
Oh yeah, I never got to hear about that.
It was too short of an experience for me to comment. I refrained from saying anything.
Was it? Ah!
You didn't like it?
No. I didn't have enough time to mess around with all the tips. So it was just like, it kind of hurt my ears. So I gotta give it a good go if I'm gonna say anything.
You still have it though, right?
For sure.
Yeah. I still need to sit down and try all the tips on it.
But see, I think for people who are uninitiated with IEMs in general, that is a pretty big obstacle. Like it's
a bigger factor than even pad rolling.
Yeah,
for me, it seems it's more daunting than EQ for me.
Yeah, it's just something like
it's
a
so
little
easy.
bit
You
invasive.
Just pop it off and pop it back on.
But it's like you have to keep track of all of them and which one goes with which. And it's like,
as much as I think Compli tips are not good for sound quality, they were the first tips that I was able to. They made it so that it made it possible for me to use proper nice IEMs, because I had that same problem where I was like it was just so uncomfortable initially and so weird feeling. But then
on the other hand, I can't even use Complis.
Yeah,
it's like,
really?
Yeah, I can't use them.
I would never use them
at
now.
all.
No, they don't. They ruin the sound. Like it completely ruins the sound.
Yeah.
It's just like on a physical level, though, I've had the opposite experience.
Oh, really?
I don't like the foams anymore. Man.
I just don't like foam.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like I see the earwax build up. I'm like, nah, man.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to turn this off.
Yeah, and they do. They deteriorate over time as well.
That's another factor for me on IEMs is the earwax factor. Is like, oh man, no, having to deal with that.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's not at a Monarch level where you're just,
Oh yeah, they'll clean out your ears for you, man.
I saw an amazing meme recently on Reddit about that with the etymonic stuff. I think it's like at the top right now, but anything else we should talk about for news? I guess we could probably dive into some of the comments here and get some questions, because I know Chrono has to leave in like 20 minutes.
And real quick, Chrono, I'm gonna put you on the spot because you have a tube amp that you haven't been playing with, from my understanding.
Actually, I listened to the HD800 on it.
Oh.
Yes, HD800S. Sorry.
I'm waiting patiently.
Wait, so what do you think? He's just telling us to listen to it. That's it.
No, well, I wasn't doing critical listening, man. Just give me some.
I know, but your first impressions, your first thought.
It was very nice. It was very nice. It was nicer, way nicer than stock without EQ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, than solid state without EQ, I should say. But I didn't go back and forth comparing between the EQ and the tubes.
Right,
tubes good.
But see, there seems to be like some. This probably isn't prevailing wisdom in our realm, but in the non-audiophile world, there seems to be some notion that you don't need a tube amp, you need a cheap solid state amp that measures well, and all you then need to do is EQ if you want to add flavor and color to the sound.
You're missing out.
That is not a tube amp does, And I learned
No.
this through
I
experience.
wasn't bringing up the EQ comparison and tube comparison as in like FR.
Oh, I know,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's worth mentioning that.
I should specify that just so
Yeah.
everybody's clear that that's not what I was comparing, or
Yeah.
that's what I want to. It's more a presentation as a whole sort of thing.
Yeah. But like that idea is something that I have seen a lot, and like the idea of like, oh, you can get tube coloration just with EQ, and there are some things that you can do, like changing the lower mid range to a certain degree to add that sort of like balloon character or whatever, but no, you don't get the same kind of experience that you do with
even like a smaller, cheaper tube. You can get like it's crazy.
I do worry about the cheaper tube amps, because like there's a lot of stuff out there that's just
not good. Yeah,
not good.
And by cheaper, I mean something like what I sent to Chrono and what have you, and even the Cayen. What you have, the boat.
Oh, that's like $700, I think.
Yeah, and then the bottlehead cracks, the OTL. You can do that, build it yourself. That's $400 or $500.
It's good. The bottlehead crack is interesting because it's an OTL that you can build yourself. And you can like kind of like use modular components and stuff. Yeah.
Mine
but I did want to
crazy stuff on it.
I did want to say one thing I noticed with I think Chrono probably won't notice this as much with the HD800S because that's a 300 ohm headphone, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
Chrono? Yeah.
300 ohms.
So you probably won't notice this as much, but when I was using the LX off of the Cayen boat, even on the low output impedance setting, it boosted the bass like crazy. Like I was like, holy smokes. And that's only off of like 32 ohm output impedance. So certain headphones will have unique interactions off of tube amps, specifically because they have different output impedances than like the super low, less than 1 ohm output impedance solid state stuff, which won't change the frequency response whatsoever. And I think that stuff's really interesting. What do you got there?
Someone is asking about DAPs, the SP2000, and so there's the Cayen N6II, which has a modular amp. System.
Yeah. I
and
see.
So
does the Cayen N8 pair better with the?
He was asking if what's a comparable DAP to the A&K SP2000, and the Cayen N8 is probably, isn't it like $1,000 more than the A&K, but it is fantastic. I've heard both, and they're both really, really good with the focal gear. But for a little bit cheaper and almost there, and you can have modularity by swapping out amps modules. This is really good, but it's big, it's chunky. I mean, that thing's
I would never put that in a pocket.
But here's the DX160 in comparison.
I love the DX160 because it does fit in the pocket.
It does.
Right?
I agree. Like the DX is, I mean, it's such a nice form factor. And so
sorry, I just have to point something out here. Somebody says Resolve, I know those are Allegias, but they look so close to the LX. This is the LX. This is actually
the Allegia is pretty silver.
Yeah, and you can see through it. That one's not closed back. You can see through.
So, drop some questions, guys. If you guys have questions, make sure it has a question mark so we actually read it, because otherwise we probably will miss it. But there are some here. So which tube amp would you recommend for the 800S? This is for both of you guys.
Honestly, magically is any OTL is going to be magic, but any tube amp is great. But specifically for me, like every time I went to sell my HD800, I'd go and listen on the bottlehead crack, and then I'd instantly listen for a couple of days on just that combo, and then I'd put the HD800 back on the shelf and not sell it. So, but that being said, I really like the HD800 with the bottlehead crack, but it does sound fantastic on the tube amp that I sent to Chrono, and it sounds really good on the Cayen boat, the HA1A Mark II. Sounds really good on the ECP T4. Honestly, tubes. If it has tubes, the 800 is probably going to sound pretty good. Those are the ones I like.
The only experience I have with, well, I shouldn't say only, because I've heard the HD800S off of a number of tube amps, but like not for long periods of time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I tried it on the Oris H2 SE and stuff like that, which honestly, like it didn't change the sound enough for me to be like, whoa, like it was more of like a. But I did want to mention the one that like I don't know, maybe Tyler has a take on this as well, but the ZMF Pendant was a tube amp that did like
Yes.
amazingly well without doing really weird things to the frequency response.
Yeah.
And that alone showed just how significant the whole like tube character aspect of it, you know, is, because it doesn't change the frequency response like hardly at all, like it's not significantly, but it still added that tube flavor. So I was like, yeah, that would be my recommendation. So far that's still my favorite tube amp. I know there's other ones out there that maybe are better for certain things, and
I think there's like the Mogwai is a little bit step up
you're
also
stuff,
paying an extra chunk, but it's the same guys. Amps and Sound does make the pendant, so
and there's also the Donald North stuff, which is good. There's the this is at CanJam, where you know the ZMF room had like all these crazy tube amps set up.
Glen OTL is fantastic, but
Glen OTL,
get a hold of.
You can find one. That's something that it's fascinating, because like that was so popular and is so popular for people who have ZMFs or high impedance dynamics, and it's like it should be. I wish it were more easily available. And there's the Felix audio stuff as well, right? Everybody's into that these days, which I would love to try. I reached out to them, but they haven't replied, so I'm sad about that. But maybe in the future. Chrono. If you had to choose between a tube amp for the HD800S, maybe you already answered this, tube amp for the HD800S and a solid state, which would you choose?
Well, I don't think I have enough experience with tubes to like, as in like the different pairings and stuff, to say definitively like which one I would choose. I think that just I don't. This is out of my what I would feel comfortable answering.
But see, we're kind of molding you from the, like, let's say I can't remember what amps you had before. Element, was it?
Element's fantastic.
To like now the like high end with the tube amp.
You got the monitor sitting there in the background.
Which is super fun. But let's see if anybody has questions for Chrono, because he has to head out in like 10 minutes.
I guess for me, it comes back to this is gonna sound lame, but it just comes back to convenience, right? Like if in a realistic scenario where I'm like, for me, I can be happy enough with a certain level of sound quality, I guess, right?
Yeah.
For me, it would just be like, what can I fit on my desk and it's easy to use, and I'm not going to worry about it breaking down or things like that. Something that's not sensitive. So I think I would go back. I would probably just end up going back to like the Element 2 or something like the Jotunheim and the Bifrost, because that's a pretty compact, very good combo, right?
Modius and Magnius.
That as well. That's also really good.
Honestly, the SMSL SU9, this thing is amazing. I've been using this like a lot lately. Well, it's unplugged because I just moved it, but this thing is tiny.
Oh yeah.
And it's fantastic little DAC. And it's Bluetooth as well. So that's the Bluetooth streamer I'm using right now. So but you mentioned convenience, and that's another thing with tube amps that I think isn't talked about enough, and it's a major downside, and that if you have some sort of other electronic signals near it, you get pretty bad with a lot of tube amps. You get pretty bad, like tube hum or tube, like it sounds dirty. Like your music might sound fine, but there's like a noise floor often when you have like other stuff, and you can even like for a lot of like this Cayenne boat tube amp, if I hold my phone near it, it gets really bad. So there's some inconvenience there as well that is probably better or worse depending on the tube amp, but it can definitely be a bit of an issue if you have a tube amp like at your desk where your computer is and all the rest of your stuff is. I imagine it's not so bad if it's in a living room or something like that.
Well, I think it depends on what your priority is, right? Because like, again, like for me, if I go back to my real case scenario, I do a lot of gaming, right? I spend a lot of time gaming, working and stuff. I wouldn't want to feel like it, like this, like my audio setup has to be, worked around.
Yeah.
I would want it to be complementary instead. So if I were doing,
it's like right in the middle of your desk.
Even monitor for me is just the size of it. If I use it here as like my reference sort of benchmark amplifier, right? But
Yeah.
if I were not doing the review thing, I'd probably just go with the simplest.
Dude, the Element 2 is fantastic for that. It powers HD800s.
I was chatting with Zach from ZMF last weekend, and the Element's what he does. His final QC check before shipping things out was on the Element.
Dude, that thing's fantastic, man. I'm a big fan of JDS guys, man. Those guys, I met a couple of them, and they're really cool guys too. So
I was gonna say, actually, if convenience is the biggest factor, the best setup is probably the iFi Pro stack with the with the Pro ICANN. It's really small.
Tube. It has the I'm thinking of something else.
You're right.
Yeah,
It's got a tube mode, 2+ and solid state.
Yeah.
It's got the bass boost
Jack
function.
of all, master of none.
It's got the widening function and like incremental
Lots of power.
as well. It's 14 watts a channel, and then the DAC portion as well is a streamer. You could have like a little stack there, and it's tiny.
Yeah.
That would be. I mean, it's a high end thing.
Yeah.
It's like $2,000 or something ridiculous, but still, I was impressed at how many different or how versatile it was. Right.
Chord TT2.
Yeah.
I mean that's like 3 times the price.
I think that would be like a dream amplifier combo because it's smaller than the Phonitor, right? It's supposed to sound amazing. I was like, oh well, that seems ideal, but then again, there's that price factor. I was like, well, it's only like 10 times above what I would be.
Only.
Yeah. And here's the other thing though too is like to speak on that point, Chrono. Your thing is like, what's good enough, right? Like what in the Element 2 has that fantastic knob. You can it sounds great. It has a great little DAC in it. One of my favorites, DAC chip, sorry, and it does everything you really need it to do for under $500, as I recall, right? So, I mean,
and if you want to balance, you could go with the Modius Magnus resolver.
Yeah.
I think I would try to get something that's balanced, just because I know that it's supposed to just be more power, but I sincerely I grabbed the CH800S cable from the HD820 and I put it on my HD800S, and I just thought it sounded better. So I would want to go balanced. I know that could be.
No, I'm with you, man.
Topic,
I know. This was my experience with the IHA6 as well. I was like, wow, that makes a difference. Let's see. I did have some questions for Chrono from the chat here, so I want to go through those. The first one is: are there any other headphones that have the same or better soundstage and imaging than the HD800S? And Chrono, you just evaluated the Arya, so like, what's your take?
To me, like the HD800S sounds to me just the tiniest bit wider, but the Arya has this depth quality to it. Yeah. It's strange. It's almost like the instruments. Like yes, they're separated on the HD800S very well, but like it's almost like there's even a better sense of distance on the Arya. Yeah, so it's not quite as, it doesn't sound to me quite as wide, but there's something with the instrument separation that just sounds, well, everything's a little bit more distinct.
The layers are more easily discernible. Yeah.
My nose.
Okay, and another question for Chrono. Chrono, are you going to make an EQ profile for the SHP 9500? I don't know if you've heard that one.
9500? No, I had not heard that one in a while, and I don't have one with me, so I wouldn't be able to make an EQ profile for it. Maybe in the future if I get my hands on one again, but as of right now, no, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, 9600 is there.
But I think that they changed some changes there, so.
Yeah, from what I saw, 9600 was a little closer to the X2 with more bass. But also the Harmonic 9 Helios is basically, I would say, an upgrade. It's like the X2, but like upgraded. But that will be a video that comes out later.
Chrono, favorite amp tube solid state that you have on hand with the HD800? That was one of the questions. The Phonitor.
Is that the Phonitor?
Yeah, it just sounds phenomenal, man.
Phonitor is pretty fantastic.
Everything I wanted to do for it, so it's too big. It's just too big.
It's big.
Yeah.
It's just I have to take. As you can see, like now there was actually, you never see the videos because I always sit in like this spot, so you never see that corner. But that used to be full of stuff, and I took everything away just to put the Phonitor down. So you know.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I actually I'm thinking if I do eventually if I sell the Fonder XE, I'm thinking of getting the Fonder E, even though it's the same like width and depth. It's just it's like I think it's like a couple inches, like it's like half the height of the
Right.
XE.
But for me, it's not so much the width; it's
the
depth. Like,
yeah, the
you can
depth
see,
kills me, man.
Like you can see where like my keyboard is. Like it surpasses where I would have my keyboard. So
I just bought more tables.
My desk is a mess, but I'll do this real quick, see if I can.
Yeah. Are there
Breaking
good solid
things.
state amp pairings for the HD800s? Yeah, that's the phone that he's just mentioning, which I
actually,
think.
also the first time I listened to the HD800S, this was an hour prior to breaking the original one. I listened to it on the Element 2 and I loved it because I just really like that how it sounded on the Element 2 actually.
Yeah. The Element that I like the HD800. I had the Element version 1 and I loved it on the HD800. So I can't imagine the 2 being a little bit better.
Yeah. Chrono, know you have to bounce here. Any final things to say based on your recent week experience?
No, but I'll for next time I'll try to get in a little more tube and IEM experience just so I can say something that's not, oh guys, sorry I can't speak. It's like, oh, it's not enough information, stuff like that. So
actually, Chrono recently got a new camera, so to use the so we're all having some fun with that, and
you can now see me in crispy Full HD
4K, man.
Yeah. Hey man, the iPhone was also 4K. It just didn't look as nice.
Anyways, let's get into some more questions from the chat here. Somebody asked about is this Chrono signing off?
Yeah.
Yeah, school.
Well, thank you guys. This is Chrono signing off until next time. See you all next week. Right. Actually, one last announcement. I think I'll probably be doing a comparison video between the Arya and the HD800S. I saw there were some questions about that. So if anybody's interested in checking that out, that's probably going to come out this weekend.
Yeah, I left the HD800S out of my comparison with the Arya and the rest of them because I'm a terrible reviewer, and Chrono is much better, so he's going to include that. So,
well, thank you guys. Sorry that I got to.
No, all good, man.
But have a nice rest of your evening, night, morning.
We'll see you in the next one.
Cheers.
I do have some questions for Precog. I've been thinking about this for a while. It has to do with the use of multi-balanced armature configurations in IEMs, and whether it's tribrid, strictly BAs, or hybrids. And to me, I'm getting to a point now where I feel like the biggest limitation for IEMs is the balanced armature driver in general. Like, there are some that are better than others, like the TIA drivers or the TIA BAs are pretty good.
Yeah.
But I do feel that, like, especially when comparing them to like multi BA stuff to single dynamic driver stuff, or honestly even some of the planar stuff that's come out recently, as much as they still need to figure out the tuning with the planar stuff. Do you think it's inevitable that manufacturers are going to move away from BAs because BAs have some of these limitations? Like, well, I don't know if you guys saw, I posted a distortion plot, and it shows the same distortion behavior for just about anything with literally everything with balanced armature drivers, and it's that third harmonic distortion is really quite high on balanced armature drivers in general, and
plus they lack the bass dynamics.
Well, I don't actually know 100% if this is what's responsible for what people call like balanced armature timbre.
The timbre, right? Yeah,
but
that's what I'm thinking.
I think if that's the closest thing that I've been able to find, because it does sound a little bit like, especially if it's really bad, it does sound like it is a little bit like distortion-y. Like the same way that you get if you just crank up, like with EQ or something like that, and you get third harmonic distortion. And I mean, do you think, especially with now companies coming out with like the solid beryllium, dynamic driver stuff, or because you've heard the A8000 and
yeah,
and the Dunu Luna, and then now also some of the planar stuff from Tin Hi-Fi and whatnot. Do you think it's inevitable, that they go in that direction rather than the BAs?
As it stands, I mean, that's hard to say because a lot of that new technology, it just hasn't really taken off. If you look at the electorates, like they can't even, half the time they're still not implementing it correctly in a lot of IMs. Like it just totally rolls off, which is the exact opposite of what it's supposed to do.
That's the Sonyan
then,
stuff.
Yeah, the E-stat, the quote unquote E-stat that they call it. And the balanced armatures are already so ingrained in the industry. I think it's just so prevalent. I think I don't know. I feel like the way to go right now is sort of a hybrid of the two.
Hybrid or tribrid or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's where a lot of the focus has gone lately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, eventually, maybe if they could refine the beryllium driver stuff, that the technical performance on that stuff is pretty outstanding. It's just it was kind of like,
how do you tune it?
Shackled by its tuning. Yeah. And I think that was one of the limitations they ran into, right? They didn't want to tune it that way in particular, but it was just a consequence of working with that type of driver material more than anything.
And that's what Tom was saying from Dunu as well, where the engineer was he's saying that you kind of have to like pay attention to what the material can do, right?
Yeah, I think you were saying there's something like they have to balance it too. If they change up the tuning too much, they're going to lose some of that technical performance. That's sort of the same principle behind the Monarch and the Clairvoyance, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're using the exact same driver types, but one of them is, at least from what I've heard, is more technical than the other. That being the Monarch. Yeah. I
have a theory about that, but we'll find out when the Clairvoyance shows up. So
true.
Mona wins.
I'm probably going to agree with that because I love the well-defined bass shelf on that stuff. Like that's fantastic.
Claire is fantastic sounding too. It's just it's kind of like that thing of like if you have cake with a frosting in the middle or just a straight cake. You know what I mean? Like if it's a layered cake or just a straight, like, you know, like, so like the
why would you have a plain cake when you can have one with frosting?
That's how I kind of feel like. I mean, not like they're both good, like, but just one has a nice little layer in there of extra frosting.
Yeah.
You know,
like what? Or is just regular cake the more correct cake?
Is it the purest?
It's more pure.
Or Precog, actually good is like, so for me the U12T would be like the cake, the pure cake, and then the Neo is the layered cake.
Yeah.
Results like, God damn it.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna go to more questions from the chat. Is Planar headphone just better than anything else at the same price? No. It, like, just because it's planar, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. But some planars can be better.
Yes.
Right? This is one of those, like, what is it? It's like
preference
Venn diagrams thing where not all German Shepherds are dogs, but not all dogs are German Shepherds. It's like one of those.
Like, for instance, I agree with Resolve's opinion of not that I heard the new one, but the Sundara at its current price is fantastic, and it beats most of the dynamics in that range, right?
Yeah.
Generally, preference aside.
Yeah. Then you go up to the LX, and the LX is better, at least in my opinion. But that's like twice the price. Yeah. Literally twice the price. I think, and this just goes back to a conversation that we had on this channel with Oratory 1990 on the subject, and I asked him what, is there something better about planars that, say if you had the same frequency response or whatever, you'd be able to do more with the planar. He said it doesn't matter. Like maybe it's more sexy or more cool or whatever, but because it's a more, let's say, elegant kind of design principle rather than a moving coil. But at the same time, like if you can produce sound waves with it, you can, in theory, do whatever with it. So, and he's like, of course, hardcore, objectivist on this subject. For me, like I do think that in the current iterations that we have at that like ultra high end, planars probably can do more. And like if you're EQing stuff, planars can handle that better than dynamic drivers. But there are other advantages to dynamic driver stuff, like punch and slam, right? You get that better from dynamics as well. So I don't think it's like a clear cut, like, you know, tiered thing where it's like dynamic drivers here, planars are here, and E-stats are here. Because I think some people think about it like that, but I don't see it like that at all.
It's also like you have to take into account preferences and like what what you like too, right?
Well,
So,
and also like it's not so much about like specifically being planar or specifically being dynamic driver. It's about the current iterations of, you know, that we're talking about, right? So, you know, an M1060 I don't think is a particularly good headphone.
I actually have one.
You know, I think. Oh, sorry, Tyler, I missed that. What?
I actually have. I have a modded M1060C that I just have because I never got rid of it.
To me, there's something really wrong sounding about that headphone. Maybe it was like phase or something. I don't know. But I think there's a lot of dynamic driver headphones that would take over that. Even though it's a planar, you know, like I'd take a 650 over that, for example, right? Or 600, right? Even the HD560s, probably.
I mean, it's got a really cool slam, like that bass factor, but it's muddy-ish. So
yeah,
I haven't listened to it in like months, so I can't really actually.
I think
on it, but
that was actually the example of a headphone that wasn't actually minimum phase like headphones are supposed to be. So it did have like the CSD plots on it actually meant something.
Yeah.
So yeah. Andrew, didn't you try the HE1000 V2? What did you think? No, I reviewed the HE1000 SE, which was remarkably good for detail, but given how, you know, efficient it was, but it needed EQ. Yeah, it's too bright. V2, I think the best one of those HE1000 series for tuning is probably still the HE1000 V1. That'd be my pick, but I'd have to have them all kind of side by side for detail. Yeah, the HE1000 SE is like nuts. You see any other?
Yeah, like this is a really interesting one from Ace of Spades. Excited to see where ribbons, horns, and the headphone technology go from here. I agree, but that like there's a part of me that's like, how the heck are you going to do a horn technology into a speaker? Like that just seems scary to me for some reason.
On the subject of like the headphone with the folds and stuff like that, there's that new company Gold Planar.
Oh yeah.
That did do a new, so Head is no longer the only company that's done, let's say, full range AMT. I think they were the first that did full range AMT, but they're not the first that did AMT. But in a headphone, but they are, I think, the first that did full range AMT. I was not encouraged by the measurements that I saw of the Gold Planar. It measured like
really bad. There is a circumoral, I know, under the radar kind of deal. The circumoral SR1A is being worked on. I'm not sure when the release for that will be.
Like actually coupled to the head? Ooh, that's exciting.
I know that's a thing that's kind of like the known unknown secret, I guess. Like,
do we just break some sort of NDA?
I don't think I have it. It's just rumors, but I think it's it's like
rumor.
But I know that it's a thing that they've mentioned before in something I've seen.
Yeah,
and so I know they're working on it, so it's not like a definitive thing that's coming. It's just that they're R&Ding it and seeing if it will work. But that could be interesting.
We have insight into some things, but really not like a lot of it is just rumors. Like somebody asked earlier if we had insight into any of the new Focal stuff that's coming out, you know, like in 2021 or something, and like I heard the Radiance. That's about it. I haven't heard.
And from there you can speculate that. And then the fact that we had the show, they said that they have stuff coming, but they didn't tell us what.
So there's and you know there's rumors of new ZMF stuff and stuff like that, but like there's
until
I don't know.
Shows up.
Yeah, exactly. Are Focal headphones good for detail? I also heard that they have a bit of metallic sound to them.
I've only heard the metallic thing like once or twice, and it really came down to like
this is like it's using metal drivers, and so there's a psychoacoustic effect where people
Yeah.
think that because it uses metal drivers, it sounds metallic.
I never got it with the Elysian. I got it with the Clear of all the ones that and it was only on a specific track.
Yeah, but the Clear also has a little of 10k hertz resonance there,
which
10
could have been the
kilohertz
sharpness
resonance
factor. Yeah, yeah.
So when you drop that, it even just with a narrow cue and like just a little bit, it completely goes away. Chrono found that actually. He found how you can EQ the metallic timbre out. But I was looking for it and I couldn't find it, and I thought it was somewhere in the mids, but it's actually around 10k. Yeah, I think a lot of that is the psychoacoustic thing. The other aspect of it too, though, is that they're probably, it's not so much like you're hearing any kind of like ringing or anything like that as a result of the metal drivers, because beryllium is self-damping, so it has zero resonances whatsoever. But there may be limitations on the material itself for the frequency response related stuff. So we see this in like the Final Audio A8000, which Precog has also had a chance to evaluate, and it's the same problem where it might sound a little bit like weird for timbre. That's not material ringing necessarily. That's a frequency response issue going on there. At least that's been my experience. I don't know, what's your take on that, Precog?
No, yeah, I agree. I think it's the same thing with the Luna as well, actually. Or actually, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, the Luna, they went with the like kind of opposite idea where they subdued the treble, right? It was like
it's the opposite actually. So I don't know.
Yeah. Still, I'm really curious to see. Like, I know there's another company out there called Periodic, I think.
Oh, Periodic PE. Yeah, I have those on the way, I think.
Oh, do you? Okay, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that, because from what I understand, their design philosophy is to just let the material do its thing, so they don't worry about tuning. And in my head, I'm like, whoa, I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But maybe, right? Like maybe it's maybe pun intended. Let's see. I owned HE1000 SE and V2 for 1 month each. I liked much more the V2, more analytic and energetic, wide. The V1 would be too soft and warm for me. Wait, but the SE is not the V1, so I'm confused by that. Like the SE is more technically impressive, but the tuning on the V2 is probably better. Thoughts? I saw another question here about the Ananda. I
was just about to ask that. I think they're asking about Ananda versus HD800.
Well, but then, so what would an equivalent of Ananda be with a dynamic driver headphone? This.
Yeah, Elex. Yeah,
this is it. Same price.
Same price. Yeah.
Right. They're different, right? The Ananda is more spacious and more, but
it has that crispness to the separation.
Yeah, more like instrument separation. But this has better dynamics because they are punch and slam. The Ananda's not good for that, but.
And then between HD800S and the Ananda, it really comes down to what you personally like. McSinney asks, because he can't listen to them, but he would like to know what would be a better choice. And without knowing what your preference is, it's hard for me to say. HD800S is wider stage.
I don't see those two as being all that comparable, because
I think,
it's more HD800S and Arya, I think.
Yeah,
because they're the same price, right?
But
unless you're talking like used, right?
Used. He's talking used. He's talking used.
Oh,
for the same price. You can get either. And I would honestly, personally, the HD800 I would say is a better deal.
I would take HD800S. If you can get the HD800S at the price of an Ananda, that's
that's a good.
That's crazy. For me, I would take the Arya over the HD800S. I mean, that's no secret, but that's only because I like the bass, planar bass. Let's see. Thoughts between. Oh no, that was what we just answered, right? Try and do a few more questions here, guys. This is one for Tyler. Maybe you answered this already. What about the pricing of the Khan Alpha? So the A&K DAP. Middle tier King sounds good with full size headphones. AK pricing system has changed. Do you know anything about that?
No. So for me, like I like the A&K stuff. I just don't like the sideload app stuff. So for me, like as much.
Oh,
as
because you have to do the
it's kind
APK
of a pain
stuff.
you have to go to the special store, you have to sideload. It's not, but once you get all that stuff set up, it's great, and it's one of the better DAPs out there. They're definitely priced for that. But personally, I think that outside of those things, like I would actually honestly go with something more. I'm a big fan of the can. But that's a chunky thing, the can stuff. But even the iBasso stuff's really great. I mean, it's a little bit, the UI can be a little bit wonky, but it's, I don't know if I even have enough power on this thing. So like, it's actually kind of low, but so here's the iBasso DAP. And so like, it's got some pretty fun, actually, how do I do the other go?
Honestly, man, I don't understand DAPs. Like,
there you go. So I have like Qobuz and Spotify on it, and like and it's just Android, and so it works pretty good. But yeah, at the end of the day, like,
I don't see myself using any of the chunkier DAPs because to me it's like there are definitely people who are going to buy those because they're going to go somewhere to a coffee shop for like 4 hours, and they're going to have their DAP and they're going to have their high-end IEMs or their high-end headphones that require it, and then that's their use case for this stuff. I'm not that person. To me, I would use it like maybe walking around somewhere, going for a hike. And
the iBasso stuff's fantastic for that.
Then the DX160 is what I would take. I would.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go with anything really all that much bigger than that, because then you're carrying around so many devices.
Even the Hibi R2.
More commonly use this.
Yeah, or as I say, actually, there's a Bluetooth DAP that's fantastic. I just got to hear it the other day. It's the $160 one or $180 one. Precog, you know what I'm talking about? It's a little, and you can actually has a little dongle to go to like an iPhone or to like an iPad. It has, it comes, and
but it's a little longer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit longer. So it's like I don't think I have anything. I mean, it's probably about this is chunky, but it's probably about as long as this thing is right here. Yeah. And so, and it's a little bit, but imagine like a squared up, and then it's. I was impressed, and it controls your volume of your phone from the little dongle. So actually, a little volume control has a little LED screen. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, I like that stuff where you can control it from your phone, because then that's where you're using your phone anyways. You're not you're gonna take your phone with you regardless. So if you have something that like you can just like clip on,
and it was
so much easier.
It was great. It sounded really good. It has a 4.4 Pentacon and 3.5.
Oh wow!
And so it's really good, and it sounded really good. It had enough power to drive most of the IEMs I was listening with it. I tried all the The Audio stuff that I had with me. I was impressed. Yeah, and stuff like that, like you just said, like so when it comes to that, like something like that is fantastic. Yeah, you lose out on the little DAP factor, but.
Got your phone, man.
But yeah, phone. Yeah, it's faster, way faster. You can stream right from. Yeah, so. Yeah. Go that route.
I have some more. We're getting some good questions here. Resolve, Tyler, what do you think about the bass on the Stellia? I demoed them and it was too much for my ears. Look at me, kind of.
So the bass, the bass is definitely more. So between the VC and this, I notice it greatly. Like these are warmer than the VC, the Stellia.
They have way more of a like upper bass bump on the Stellia that becomes much more noticeable on like a wider range of music. They're not as like, whereas the VC is just a more like, it's elevated in the lower mids and then the bass as well, but it's just more linear there. Like it doesn't have the upper bass bump. So that's probably the difference there. But I can't say because I haven't heard the well, I've heard your VC, but I haven't reviewed it.
And it is it's kind of, they're weird. Like so these definitely are warmer, and when I go back and forth between the two, my VC's over there. But like the VC has a more it's wider staging, so that helps too, and it's just not as warm. It's not as in your face with the warmth, I guess, if that makes sense.
Right. It's interesting because to me, like I used to always associate the term warmth with like a more of like a lower mid-range body, and not as much about the bass. Yeah.
That's why I'm also referring to that. Like to me, the bass on these is good, but the bass on the VC is more.
Yeah.
But the warmth on these is
because like there's also like the term dark, which has more to do with the treble than it does the bass, right? Like treble being recessed, be dark, or upper mids, like presence region being dark.
So
I don't think dark and warmth are synonymous.
Not the same.
Right?
Yeah, I think dark is like that, the lowered treble. The warmth is the mid range, and then bass is bass.
Bass is bass. Bass is bass, and bass is bass. Yeah. And this goes back to the, we were talking about the Monarch earlier, and like the Monarch, I wouldn't call that warm. It's just got a really nice bass shelf.
Yeah. And that's the VC. That's the VC to me. Like the VC has that like.
Okay. Wait, the VC has the bass shelf?
Not bass shelf, but it has that nice bass. Like it has.
Oh, so better, more well extended bass.
Yeah,
or like more even bass.
Than these, but these have more warmth across the whole mid range to me, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to compare. I don't. I'll defer to you on that one. What amp DAC combo do you guys enjoy with the focals? Right now, okay, so like this is the thing. You don't actually need that much of a DAC or like a DAC, yes, but the amp you don't need hardly any amping because these things are very efficient. Even the Utopia is the hardest one to drive, and it's only what, like 80 ohms or something.
80 ohms, yeah.
I think what's a lot of fun to do with the Focal headphones, because they have an impedance bump around 50 hertz. If you use higher output impedance sources, you actually get more bass. So that's what I was saying earlier with the Cayenne Boat tube amp. It's called the HA1 something Mark II. I can't remember. HA1A Mark II. Somebody can correct me. But that has like selectable output impedances, and when you mess with that, even on the lowest one, it's like 32 ohm output impedance. The bass boost on this is crazy. So you can have a lot of fun with different pairings for Focal headphones that will change the frequency response in the bass depending on the output impedance. So if anybody's like, oh yeah, the Focal headphones are bass light, no, just run it off of a source with higher output impedance, and you will have lots of bass. No need to EQ these.
Yeah, no, and my current favorite right now is of course my ECP T4. So that's my current favorite. But that has, I think, the
biggest consideration with the Focal headphones for source pairing. I mean, obviously you could get the Arch, which was made specifically for them, but the biggest consideration, in my opinion, is you don't want something that is just meant for like really inefficient planars. Like this straight up will not work well at all out of the Cayenne IHA6 because it'll have really bad noise floor. If I'm using the proper low output impedance output on the Cayenne IHA6, because the IHA6 is it's a high current amplifier meant for planars. And so there's been a number of like the SoundAware P1 was like that as well, where it just had way too much power that it was just pointless. Like there's no reason to use that for something like this. Like honestly, if you just want like a good sounding amp for a Focal, Magni Heresy Focal or Topping L30, like these will all do just fine. I don't see any reason to.
The shit hell, I have that and that works great.
Yeah,
the Element,
like
anything that's...
you can get a Phonitor and it'll that'll be better, but like it doesn't scale like a 650 does on a Phonitor. Like these don't, the scalability of the Focal stuff. I think it probably scales actually more with DACs. Like you notice the DACs, like the effects of the DAC a little more because they are so detailed already.
Yeah.
But that's just my experience so far. Did you guys watch the Passion for Sound interviews with Jason Stoddard, Rob Watts? What do you guys think about doing more interviews like that? I think I didn't see it, but I need to now. Thanks for putting that out. I love that kind of stuff because I love talking to like manufacturers and because both of those guys, I mean, that's, so if anybody's unaware, Rob Watts, that's Chord Electronics, and Jason Stoddard is Shit Audio. And I love talking to those guys because then you get a lens into the other side of this. Like we're always on the like evaluation side and the hobbyist side, the audiophile side of things, and it's cool to get some insight from the people who are actually making this stuff. So I'd love to talk to those guys as well. And Tyler has an upcoming stream this Sunday with Zach and Bevan from ZMF, so everybody should check that out.
Sorry, I was responding to one of the guys.
Oh
yeah. So they were going to do
Precog in the chat as well.
Yeah, the stream for Sunday is just going to be, they wanted to do a quick tour of their new headquarters, so that'd be kind of a fun, interesting thing. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
so everybody, check that out. I think you've already got it scheduled, right?
Yeah, it's going to be the 25th, so Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 Eastern.
Yeah, definitely. I'll watch it. You'll find me there. You might boost bass a bit if you EQ, but I'm no expert. Okay, yeah. Bass boost with EQ is something that, like, again, it does so much better with planars because they can handle it better. So, but I mean, these ones are fine. But I'm just saying, like, you'll have an easier time with planars. And apparently, E-stats, like, they take EQ like crazy as well.
Yeah.
But I don't have enough experience with that.
Tube amp comparisons are tough because they're hard to get a hold of. Sorry, someone asked.
It really is, and I wish I could get a hold of more because, like, there are so many that I want to be able to try and evaluate with the Verite. Like, that's like the Verite on tube amps. That's like a thing,
It's very nice.
And to being able to kind of, like, try different ones would be awesome. And so far, the Pendant is still my favorite.
Yeah, so. Pendant is fantastic.
Let's see.
Mogwai. In fact, the Mjolnir, I'm going to butcher this. Mjolnir 2. Yeah. That's getting a lot of love too. That's a lot of power, lots of pretty decent tubes sounding out of that.
Are there any portable DAC amps with streaming capabilities that don't suck? I don't know what you mean by don't suck. Like Bluetooth? SU9 works fine. The topping D90 worked fine for streaming with Bluetooth. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a couple out there. There's. I mean, a lot of the topping stuff and SMSL stuff works pretty good.
They're all just throwing antennas on there. It's great.
Matrix, is it the Matrix? Does that have?
Oh, it does as well. But the Matrix X Saber Pro is just like that is a $2,000, like, a really expensive DAC, and like
I'm just trying to think streamers. I wasn't thinking price. I was thinking streamers.
Yeah. Wait, no, there is the elements and stuff like that, but that's like that's a different thing. This is the X Saber Pro that I have behind me, which is the best DAC I've ever heard so far. It's my favorite.
Someone mentioned that too. Someone was asking earlier, and I meant to mention it, but they were talking about the difference between a Saber and an AKM DAP, and they're saying how the Saber would be potentially has more detail, and I'm wondering if they're confusing the detail with, because the Sabers tend to be a little more on the bright side. And
so there is actually, you're gonna hate this because ASR actually found this out, but because people, like, this is the thing, like, people report that commonly with Saber DACs, ESS based DACs being more bright and analytical. I think they are, but there's that, but then there's also the additional worry about Saber glare. Yeah. And there's a lot of comments about certain Saber DACs sounding like cheese graters and whatnot. I'm ripping that directly from what people have said in Discord. But we don't have a Discord, but like other random Discords, communities. I've seen people talk about this kind of stuff, and that I'm pretty sure is intermodulation distortion. And you can see the IMD, the intermodulation distortion bump on some of these that people have commonly reported as having this kind of glare quality to them. And the nice thing about modern ESS based DACs is that they've gotten a lot better at handling this. And so, like, for example, the Matrix X Saber Pro doesn't have any at all. It's still a Saber DAC, so you get all the analytic benefits of that without the glare. And then same thing with the SU9, which is a much less expensive DAC. It's there like just a tiny little bit, but it's so much better than it used to be. It's
A&K Con Cube. I actually had that.
Wait, do those use Cirrus? I thought.
Is it Cirrus? Maybe it's Cirrus.
I thought A&K used Cirrus Logic stuff.
For the
I could be totally wrong about that.
You're right. I think you're right. Might be right, but yeah.
I
thought that Cirrus was for the SR25. I'll have to look at. Let me confirm.
Oh yeah, it could be right. Yeah. But that's why, like, I generally say that, like, if you're for the lower end stuff, at least up until recently, I would always recommend the AKM based stuff for the lower end stuff, or the Burr Brown stuff, because it didn't have that intermodulation distortion issue that some of the ESS based stuff did. But now the ESS stuff is getting so much better that it's remarkable.
The Concube does have dual ESS Saber 9038 Pros, and so I'm not I don't like Saber DACs, like, just as a preference thing, not because they're bad per se, but that one I liked.
they're probably more, let's say, quote unquote, transparent
Mhm.
if you get something that doesn't have the intermodulation distortion. But it's a worry. Like it's a legitimate concern, I think. Let's see. ESS has provided extensive documentation for manufacturers on how to overcome that ESS hump. Yeah, and they're finally using it, I think. So, like the X Saber Pro doesn't have any of those issues. Like, well, Tyler, you should listen to the X Saber Pro because it is not like other Saber DACs, and I've heard it a few times. It like not just in this one, but I've heard a few other ones that are like this as well, where they don't have the intermodulation distortion.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I like anything with a big M on it.
I don't know. I'll throw a precog and put him on the spot again if he's even still here. Have you experienced any of the like DAC glare issues with like using ESS based stuff? Or I guess you use the DX160 more commonly.
Isn't that more Bluetooth? What's ESS? I haven't been following. I'm sorry.
That's exactly.
No. Yeah, see, that's why I put you on the spot.
It's the DAC. Professor Resolve.
Yeah. Well, I saw you was in the chat. So no, the Saber DACs. We're talking about DACs. Wait, do we know what DACs are in the iBasso stuff more commonly?
iBasso, I think, is 8KM, isn't it?
Somebody can. Let's find out.
To the internets.
I don't even pay attention to this stuff.
Most people don't, because it
good.
really doesn't make that much of a difference.
Precog's a big fan of the sounds good, treble good,
Yeah.
mid's good, bass good.
Oh no.
Nah, I can't find it right now. Somebody knows what the somebody will let us know what DACs they use, but the iBasso stuff sounds fine in my opinion. I got no issues with that.
Yeah.
There was another question I saw that was about EQ, and it was going to trigger Tyler, I'm sure. I don't see it. Oh well. Are the Verite closed the single best closed-back headphone on the market, better than Stellia TH900 Mark II, Aeon Closed 2, LCD XC, and the ATH-AWKT? Wow. Somebody is gonna, in the comments afterwards, yell at you for not including the Sony Z1R in that list.
The DX160 uses Cirrus.
Cirrus, there we go.
Dual Cirrus
perfect
chips.
Question answered. Tyler, you're the only one here who has extensive experience with the Verite Closed and Stellia. And have you heard the TH900 Mark II?
Yes, did not like.
Okay.
It's stabby and bassy, like it's extreme V.
Yeah,
it's like extreme V.
Yeah.
It personally didn't like. I can see why.
No, you can say
like
say that it's bad. I'll allow it. You can say.
It was. The bass is exceptionally high, V-shaped, and the treble can be very piercing. It's the purple. That's the other one I have. I have the Fostex Purple Hearts. It's
Purple
basically
Hearts.
Take that and then multiply it or turn it to 11.
Right, it's like the next level of that. Okay. So you'd probably say the VC is the
VC is my preferred. I use my VC probably. Why are you focusing on my hands? I use the VC probably 95% of the time when I'm listening for fun, enjoyment, all that stuff.
Yeah, because so when I did that initial, like way back when we first started this channel, I did that comparison there with a number of different close backs that came in like totally different price points. And out of those ones, the Stellia was definitely the favorite. But of course, I didn't have the VC to include in that. And there were a few other ones as well. Like there's the Denon D9200. There's but see, and of course the Fostex and the Z1R and all that stuff. But the Z1R, I think we can categorically just like rule out as best close back. Like to me, there are issues with that headphone.
Yeah. I would put it above the Mark II for the TH900 for sure.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a unique one. It's gorgeous. Like that's also one of the ones. Like that's a good looking headphone. Like
it's the one that there's a wonderful photo floating around the internet of Alan throwing it into the trash.
Yeah, there's.
I shouldn't put him on blast for that.
He has a couple of like people sent him of like people putting like HD800 in the
Yeah,
toilet.
he collects those.
Like,
It's like his
Yeah.
hobby.
yeah, he collects them. Yeah, they're hilarious, man.
Yeah. And actually, I haven't heard the ATH AWKT. That would
I
be
haven't heard
interesting.
That would be
Yeah.
I still want to hear some of those, like the 5000 and like the and the closed. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna say probably the Verite closed is the best closed back out there. I mean the Stellia as well.
I mean,
like
I'm
they're-
biased. I think so.
Yeah. But the Stellia is
second.
really,
It's like
really
right
good.
there. It's like it really comes to preference.
And honestly, like for technical performance, you're gonna hate this, but I actually think that
Stellia is probably better.
I think the XC is like right up there with the Stellia just for technical performance, for like detail and like slam and all of that stuff. I think the XC is like up there. Like
As my daughter would go.
hey, and pretty soon the R10, you know, maybe the
geez. I do wanna hear
$5,000 planar closeback that shamelessly rips off.
Well, I mean, technically,
Okay,
it's just the cup design they're ripping off at that point, right? Because it's a Planar
right,
uniqueness,
right, and
So
it's and everybody does cup design like that
Yeah.
for closebacks because that's how you make closebacks sound okay, which makes a certain amount of sense,
I
right?
mean, even the VC kind of has a somewhat similar look to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, somebody's asking what headphones I'm wearing. I'm wearing the Focal LX. Elex?
Alex.
Someone's gonna get triggered in the comments for that. Oh, this is okay. That's why I asked about the Verite closed versus Stellia. Okay, yeah. So, and the thing is, like the Aeon 2 is a fantastic technical performer as well, with just like a little bit spicy treble there for my taste. But, and I think it is probably DCA's best like headphone, but I don't think that it's on the level of some of these other ones, like for technical performance and for. Because the biggest downside there is the lack of the lack of punch and slam on those, and the Soundstage also I had some issues with, like the separation was fantastic on them, but it didn't have the kind of like layering and that sort of surgical precision imaging like the Stellia does. So yeah, I like it. I think the Aeon 2 is fantastic, but for the closed back only, the open back is not so good.
I wasn't a fan of the back at all.
But I don't think I don't think it competes with like the Stellia or the VC. That's my only.
Oh, here's a good one. The most recent. You can only choose 2 pairs of headphones. What do you choose to cover all sorts of music? This could be a fun. We'll start with Precog.
Okay, yeah.
Precog, 2 IEMs or headphones. You can only pick 2. I already know what they are, but go ahead.
Like just in general, my favorites.
Yeah. No. Like if you could only have 2 from now until forever.
Well, okay. Let's say like IEM and 2 headphones. 1 IEM and 2 headphones.
Ooh.
I only have 1 headphone.
No, but like not that you like you could just pick like
just pick. What would you go with if you could
not of stuff you own, right?
Yeah,
like
just
of anything.
Oh, out of anything. Yeah, Z1R, I guess, but I can't fit it. Is the thing.
The IEM, the IER Z1R.
Yeah, the IER Z1R. I've heard
Yeah.
the headphone is totally different, but yeah. Yeah, if I could fit it, yeah, that would definitely be probably my end game. But other than that, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so how about for you? We say you can have 2 IEMs.
2 IEMs. What's your 2 IEMs?
Yeah, okay then. U12T and Z1R then.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, those are still
That's
the.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna be the
I have the Odin
U12T
coming
or
in today, though, I
the
think.
Neo, so I was gonna say those were
No,
my
the
choices.
Odin's not coming in today because I haven't shipped it out because I've.
Oh wait, what got shipped then?
Oh wait, what? I don't know. Well, no,
I don't even
the
know what
labels.
shipped.
We have the label. It's just
Oh,
that
okay,
it
okay.
hasn't been
Maybe it's
dropped
the
off yet.
DAP that
Oh,
turns
okay,
something
yeah,
out then. I'm not sure what it is.
could be. Yeah, because well, we got to get you the Odin because that'll be next week.
Odin's great. It's the
Okay.
utopia of IEMs.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and then, so Rizal, 2.
For IEMs, I'm gonna go Odin. I would have gone U12T because I love that. That to me is still the ideal tuning.
Mm-hmm.
But the Odin, I just think it's got the dynamic driver and the bass, just a little more fun. For 2 headphones, one is Sesvara, And the other would probably be the VC.
IEM for me, that's a tough one because I have heard the Odin. I really liked it, but I didn't hear it long enough to like get a proper thing on it. But for me, I'm gonna say Unique Melody Mest. I'm a fan. And then for headphones, definitely VC. That's my favorite headphone of all time. Second one though, that's tough for all things. Honestly, and this might be a little more controversial because I don't know if it's, but I would say the SR1A. I would say SR1A because it's not necessarily a headphone, but SR1A and VC would be my top two cover all genres type of deal.
Yeah, SR1A has some pretty crazy detail. Definitely.
That's
the first thing. Just like, whoa. Yeah. But I mean, that's also really weird. So
it's also very weird. Yeah.
I see another question here about the VC and Soundstage and the HD820. So for best Soundstage, maybe the HD820 is better, but that's a headphone I feel like people need to be warned about.
Yeah.
Like the HD820, the tuning is so bizarre on that thing. Like watch Chrono's review. That would be my
I've heard both.
Impressive, but
it has the HD800 stage, but it has wonkiness to get that stage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then I would say the VC, the difference is the VC it isn't as wide, but it has more 3D factor. Like there's more of a bubble around you. Like there's a literal circle instead of that.
Same was true for the VO, you know.
Yeah, same
less
with VO.
about yeah. You're not like sitting at a concert several rows back, but it's like all around you kind of thing. Let's see. Okay, let's take a few more questions.
Best cables that you have ever used. For me personally, it's the Verite Silvers from ZMF. Precog.
Cables. Yeah, let's go Precog.
Cables.
Think about that.
I mean, with IEMs, like, honestly, all the cables that I use on my IEMs are the cheaper ones. They're like $10, $15 ones, even on my U12T. So the thing I've noticed with the more expensive ones is that they're all very, very braided and heavy, and like they just don't hold up as well in practical use, at least for my uses. When I'm moving around quite a bit.
Favorite IEM cable?
I know that like goes against the grain.
Did you see the?
Oh, Dunu makes really good cables though. I love the connector joint. That's really innovative. I mean, it's so simple, but it's like so useful as well. That little connector swap.
$10 cable, and of course it's purple, so it's amazing. But yeah, this is like $10, and it's fantastic.
So I think we missed like everything else you were saying.
The Dunu has a cable, has a really cool adapter that you can like. That one's really, really cool. And it's decent. But honestly, this is the Kin Boofy, and Android recommended this to me. They're like $10 to $15, maybe $20 on they're AliExpress. But like they move really easy. They're probably
I love that. Yeah.
They feel good. These are probably the best. Like, so I agree with Precog. Like,
For me, for IEMs, it's probably the cable that comes with the Odin, except for that stupid connector. Like, sure, stupid, not the connector, but the
splitter.
Splitter, yeah. But like the feel of it is really nice.
That's really nice.
Dumb because the cable's like over $1,000.
Right.
And yeah, there's the audiophile world that loves talking about how amazing cables make things sound. But the best cable that I ever saw or ever used was when I was at one of the meetups that we had, where Vincent brought over his Empyrean for us to try, and I think he had a Norn cable with it, and it was fantastic. Really nice. Okay, yeah, you were there for that. Yeah, his Norn cable was really nice.
You know, in the forum, there's a new guy, Viking Cables. Have you seen those?
No,
it's in the forum in the cable. Yeah, check it out on the forum. It's under cables, I think. And so he actually makes them, and they look really good. I've never played with one, but they look really good.
Yeah, I see. It's such like a bizarre world, the cable world, because people will spend all kinds of money on that stuff, and like. It feels like it's like pushing a boulder up a hill, you know. Like, I don't know why,
neck candy, man. It's neck candy. That's why I like the purple one, right? Like it's neck candy to me. Like, and then even this one, like these are for the price, Periact, or if you get somebody that can build them for you. I know, I know a couple people, and like I mean, at the end of the day, man, or even Hart audio cables are pretty cool, but they can be a little janky. I think the newer ones are a little bit better.
Sorry, we get a lot of questions about the VC and
XC.
the XC and what all that stuff. I just want to let everybody know that Chrono has said something in the chat here that's fairly interesting for anybody who's interested in that. The VC review that's bound to happen on the channel soon, sometime soon. Yeah. See, like if I were to buy a Verite today, it would probably be the closeback because I like closeback. It's just more usable for me.
That's my thing too.
Yeah. But when I bought the Verite, there was no VC. I got in on the pre-order for the Verite because I'm a ZMF fanboy.
Yeah, I like ZMF. I don't know if I'm a fanboy per se.
I'm just a Zach fanboy. That's
yes. No, yeah.
He's watching.
I'm definitely a ZMF fanboy. I'll wear that on my sleeve. I'm biased extremely on that stuff.
Yeah, you should get the ZMF tattoo.
Everyone keeps telling me that. There's something weird about having another man's name tattooed on you, though.
No, it's well, just get Zach's face tattooed,
or on my back. It'd be like the what's his name from that weird show from MTV? They did all the crazy stunts and stuff, and he got a tattoo of himself. A thumbs up on his back.
VC over XC. Well, I would definitely take VC over XC. Not because of sound quality reasons, but the XC is 700 grams and the VC is not. That's the VC is just like I wear the XC regularly for like 4 hours at a time, and then I go to the Verite Open, and the Verite Open is like the lightest thing in the world.
Yeah, surprisingly light for how much wood and metal are on these things.
Doesn't VC have much more distortion than XC? Usually, at least. Is this for dynamics versus planars? People need to stop thinking about like THD as a valuable metric in like 99% of high-end headphones. Like it's a valuable thing to look at to get a sense of like behavior, what it does, but it is not an indicator for detail or any of that kind of stuff.
Steve-o.
THD is not like, it's so far below the audible threshold that like there's THD tests that you can do where you'll be shocked at where you actually start to hear this stuff and how much further below that any headphone is any high-end headphone is these days.
You'd never be able to hear it.
It starts to become relevant when you're doing like EQ and you're boosting things and changing things, and then maybe like I even had a EQ profile originally for the Verite where I think it was pushing it too far at a certain range. And I've changed that now, but and even then, like you're still only really affecting second and third harmonic distortion, which aren't really that problematic. So yeah, maybe this XC has less distortion, less THD than the VC, but it's not an audible thing. The only thing that would be audible as far as like technical performance is concerned, all that stuff is like, yeah, you might get a more, let's say, linear bass response with the planar because they do like in more conditions because that's just what planars do really, really well. But I don't think this is with the VC. You're probably going to get better punch and slam, and you're going to get the dynamic driver, the way that it handles bass and stuff like that. THC was much better than
THD.
Judgment Headphone and THD. TLC, man. Tender love and care.
Love it.
Numbers don't matter if it doesn't sound like music. I don't know what that means. Numbers matter, just not when you're listening to music. I don't get the objectivists who hate tube amps just because they add distortion. Yeah, see, this is exactly the thing we're saying. Like, and this was hilarious. When like some of those forums were posting like reviews of
the bottlehead crack or like
it was some tube amp, and it's like, yeah, what are you expecting here?
Especially the bottlehead crack of all of them. Like that's.
Oh man, I thought that was the funniest thing. Like. This is, yeah.
They should have waited and posted that out on April 1st. That would have been better time to release that review.
You guys at AA need to get more serious about tube amps. Just saying, we're trying. It's hard to get a hold of them. I have one right here.
I have 1, 2, 3.
I stole that one from Taryn.
I have 4.
He's now putting headphones at the office, like in hidden places, and creating scavenger. He texted me that the other day. He's like, I was like, "Oh, is it cool if I come over and pick up this thing?" He says, "No, I've hidden it away, and you have to have it do a scavenger hunt before you can steal it."
He's just hiding in the closet with them. Like
that was the HD560S.
Oh man,
yeah, DMSs. Yeah. I don't hear 300 hertz drop on HD820. Is this occlusion effect? 300. So there's reasons why you might not hear this. One is if you don't have the seal, you might not notice the 300 hertz drop. If you do have the seal, you should probably notice it. But the other reason why you might not is because the ranges on either side of it are elevated appropriately. So, it's significantly elevated in the bass, like way too much actually on the other side of it. But and so, it's like when people see this is something I talked about in the measurements video, but like when people see a measurement of something, they automatically assume that all of this is audible. And in the actual experience of it, it's not unless you go looking for it. And, so in most cases, especially when it comes to dips in certain ranges, it's not going to be as audible as it looks, as negatively audible as it looks on the graph. But yeah, I do think that the HD820 300 hertz dip is pretty audible. I think but I mean, they had to have a dip somewhere, otherwise they couldn't have made that headphone. So they figured probably 300 hertz was the best place to put it. And I'm inclined to agree. You probably won't notice the 300 hertz dip as much as you would notice it if it were like at 5K or like, 3K or something like that. Question. Looking to buy an A&K Con Alpha for Meze Empyrean and Focal Radiance. Is it a good pairing? Oh man.
That's only, I mean, you have to let me borrow your ears.
What is a good pairing? I don't know.
Empyrean's a unique one in and of itself. It's but I mean,
you're being too nice. No, I agree with Metal 571's take on the Empyrean. It's like it's good. It's just it's not $3,000 good. Like it's like LCD2 level or LCD, like in that $1,000 to $2,000 range maybe, and the bass isn't that great. But
and to speak on the specific question, I think having the Radiance and the Empyrean is a good combo, because the Empyrean would be your fun headphone and the Radiance would be more of your, not that I've heard the Radiance, but I'm just basing it off of what wait, where am I pointing?
Sorry, I just want to address that one thing about focals aren't usually source picky. They are in the sense of they're picky for output impedance because they're low impedance, but they don't require a ton of power. Yeah, you'll easily be able to drive the Radiance with the Con Alpha, I think is what you mentioned, right?
Is the Empyrean Aeolus? Aeolus, I think personally whoops the crap out of the Empyrean for sound quality. Personally,
well, he says was thinking a neutral source with warmth of
and that would Empyrean. Be a good combo.
The thing is, with like the whole neutral source thing, unless you're using a tube amp, almost all solid state amps should be neutral. It's only when you have certain interactions with output impedance, once again with the headphone and then the source, that will change the frequency response. So in most cases, especially with the Empyrean, you won't change the frequency response at all. Again, this goes back to that question about ESS stuff that we were talking about earlier. And actually, I should temper that statement a little bit, because there are other sources that can change the frequency response if they're using certain transformers that are intended to do this. But for the most part, they don't really change the frequency response. Okay, sorry, what were we talking about? How do you convince someone that a DAC and amp are important in the chain? Have them listen to sorry, the cops are after me again because I'm talking about this. Have them listen to something out of a Realtek output on a laptop, and then get them to try even just a very entry level DAC amp combo, and that should convince them that it matters. Do you recommend the? Oh, is it Aeolus good? The Empyrean. That's the question. Sorry, Tyler.
I personally think the Aeolus is better than the Empyrean 100%. I mean, I own the Aeolus, and I had.
And you could have owned the Empyrean.
And I could have owned the Empyrean. And
the Empyrean is the most comfortable headphone I've ever worn in my life, and it was the top of the list for me for my most comfortable headphones, and it is probably the best like for comfort to performance for at least for my head. So yeah, I mean it's worth it in that sense, but it's not like strictly competitive for sound quality in the $3,000 price range. I don't think.
I think build and engineering of the dang thing, and in comfort, it's in that 3,000 range. Sound is below 2,000. In my opinion, personally.
Oh, definitely.
And
definitely.
And I think that yes, someone mentions it, but yes, there are a group of people that really love it, and that's perfect. That's great for them. I don't think that's. I'm not trying to take that away from them or anybody else. I don't think it's just personally. That's my opinion of that.
Yep. And it's got a unique design principle as well.
So I think it's beautiful. It's a beautiful.
Got that going for it. Let's see. Do you recommend the Kain IHA6 for use with the Chord Mojo as a DAC? I need more power for my AKG K701, balanced modded by me, and for my next headphone purchase, the HD800S. It's interesting you mentioned that because the Kain IHA6 actually does have a specific output for the HD800S. So, and it's because it's one of the outputs is 110 ohm output impedance, which is ridiculous for anything other than that headphone. So yeah, you would, sorry, the IHA6, that would work with the
most amps will work with headphone. Most headphones. I mean,
but he's asking about the Chord Mojo as a DAC. Yeah. Does it have a RCA output? Actually, wait a second, I have one right here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't you? I think you have to do like the little. It's like 3.
No, you need the adapter. You need
exactly.
You need 3.5 to RCA. I have one back here.
I have one somewhere.
I don't think this is like something you need. Like you could get it less expensive.
If you already have it, then get the adapter.
Just get the cable and it'll probably work. Yeah. Like for the analog output to work.
Someone asked a good question, and I was wanting to mention. Oh, do you guys enjoy listening to music and what genres? I thought that was interesting.
No, I just listen to sine sweeps.
I listen with my eyes.
I play single sine waves, and then I look at the FFT or the real time analysis and
actually I want to let's involve Precog again because I think he fell asleep again.
Yeah,
Theo. Are you there? Theo?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, bud.
Oh, okay.
Hey, boss. What's your music genres? What do you like to listen to?
I listen to a lot of like K-pop, J-pop, and just the weeb stuff, right? And then I also listen to country music though. That's a genre.
We had that country music one.
Yeah,
night.
Right. In the Discord. Yeah.
Let me go first.
I exclusively listen to electronic music now.
Lies.
No, I'm joking. Electronic music and really aggressive rap.
Oh yeah, I also listen to a lot of EDM. That's the other one I listen to. But,
No, I listen to mostly jazz, classical, acoustic kind of stuff, flamenco, guitar, piano music. I like garbage too. I like metal. I grew up on metal, so I listen to a lot of Pink Floyd, classic rock stuff. I like the Beatles. I don't listen. See, this is the thing. This is going to trigger Chrono because he loves the Beatles.
Yeah, that's a unique indie band, man. Those are pretty cool. I've been hearing them a lot.
Most of the Beatles stuff is not very well recorded. It's pretty bad, actually.
Bad, yeah. It's kind of like listening to Rolling Stones stuff.
But it's good though. Like I like the Beatles. I think they're awesome. But Pat Metheny, yes, I am a big fan of Pat Metheny. He's one of my favorite guitar players. Go Penguin is great. Yeah, Go Penguin. Ting Val Trio. I've gotten Ant right on the Ting Val Trio now. So we listen to a lot of the same stuff. Michael Walney. And for classical, I like Yo-Yo Ma and stuff like that. But I know Tyler's really into Billie Eilish, so
Yeah, I'm ridiculous. I listen to everything. I literally listen to everything. If I like a track, like I don't necessarily listen to full albums. I have specific tracks. Like I love Rodeo for like a classical one of my favorites. Green Sleeves. I like those types of things for classical stuff. I love blues, bluegrass, jazz, but on a regular basis of just randomly listening to stuff. You can. I can post up my little Spotify playlist thingy that I listen to, but I'm all over the place. But
we'll
mostly
break OBS if you do.
Yeah, I'll break OBS. I've been having issues with that, but yeah, I'm all over the place. I listen to EDM, I listen to K-pop stuff, to vocal stuff, to everything.
Yoshi Horikawa for testing Soundstage.
Love Yoshi Horikawa, man.
Great.
I do like his tracks.
They're good tracks too. Yeah, I like that. I'll just like put it on in the living room and it's just like relaxing, you know.
And then I mostly listen. Like my biggest thing is I go. That's one of my things that I do to relax at the end of the day. So I mostly listen to music. Like that's like I'll grab some whiskey and I'll after the family
just
goes to
sit
bed
there
and just sit there. Yeah, and the lights down. And
this is the other thing. There's so many people buying really nice headphones for listening to music while they're doing other stuff, and I feel like that misses so much of the paying attention aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could do better with less expensive headphones or less expensive equipment, and just turn off the lights and not pay attention to anything else and just sit there and listen. Pay attention, right?
Float
Actively
on the sea
listen
of music.
Yeah, and that'll actually make it so that you hear things that you don't hear normally because you're not paying attention to it. Not because of the equipment, but because of your attention. That's the thing.
If you can turn off the monitor and if you have it on your computer or have like a specific designated listening station.
I have a challenge for everybody who's watching this in the chat. If you like Pink Floyd, that is, but lie on the floor with your favorite headphones or just somewhere relaxing. Doesn't have to be on the floor,
Fantastic
but turn off.
I know what you're talking
turn
about.
off all the lights and then listen to. There's a song called "The Gunner's Dream," and just listen to that song and just see how and pay attention to it and just see what that experience is like. And the difference between that and just throwing on something in the background while you're, browsing the internet or whatever. It's a very different experience. I saw another question here that, what's your favorite jazz album? It's going to be Return to Forever, Chick Corea, Return to Forever, the one with Spain on it. That is also one of the best jazz songs of all time, in my opinion. Balanced is wildly overrated, in my opinion. So I'm inclined to agree, but we all just said that we prefer listening off of Balanced. Yeah. I swear my THX 789 on Balance was much wider than SE. This is the thing that I see very commonly in I don't want to rag on Headphone, but I see it in threads in forums in general, where people will say, "Oh, with this pairing with this amplifier and this headphone, it makes this headphone open up." I don't know what that means. Like open up as in power correctly, or to me, I think a lot of that is probably psychoacoustics, because I've never heard something like even though I use these high-end amplifiers, right? That lots of really like there's the Phonitor X there's the X Saber behind me for the DAC, the IHA6 has tons of power. Open up is such a weird descriptor for me that I don't know what to make of it. But I see it all the time, so I don't know. What's your guys' take on that? What does that actually mean?
I mean, it is kind of ambiguous. I think it's just sort of like a catch-all. What is the other one? Pratt, pace, rhythm, and timing. That one gets thrown around a lot. Yeah.
I always think of Crin's. You just slap Pratt.
Yeah. That's the first thing that comes to mind, honestly.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I don't know, Tyler. Have you come across the phrase "open up" or?
Not overly. But
Okay.
I'm more of the just listen type. So
Yeah. But I'll grant there's. Go ahead. Yeah.
I would say this is more regarding the single end versus balance, right?
That's what I was. Yeah, I saw that.
So to me, if I don't think that you're going to get a massive difference outside of power boost. But at the same time, if you have an amp that has balanced in it, 9 out of 10 times more effort was put into making that balance. So it's probably going to be the better of the two on that specific amp, if that makes sense. Because they have to do certain things to make that a balanced amp. And so if you have balance, go balanced.
Right. That's what it's like, that's what it was designed for, right? You're making use of whatever transformer is in there that it was specifically made for. And I'm totally inclined to agree. And that's why it's not that balanced inherently is better. It's just that the balanced outputs that the balanced amp was designed with is probably better than the single-handed one.
Because it's doubling up on everything too. So they have to make sure everything is in line. Yeah. So
I just on the subject of opening up, I'm not talking about tube amps, because I do agree on the subject of tube amps that this can enhance the sense of Soundstage. Tube amps, absolutely. Like, you can get a wider, more spacious,
get some crazy like 3D things.
No argument there whatsoever. And also like going to CanJam and trying out all the different amps. Like, I've heard some things from CanJam where I was like, wow, I didn't realize that was possible, as far as like what it did for the experience in terms of, you know, dynamics or whatever else. But it's more, I'm not saying like, you know, open up is like, I'm more just,
maybe more
wondering what does that even, when people are saying that, what do they mean? You know, I'm not saying that it doesn't change anything. I don't know if they're talking strictly Soundstage, or, you know, are they talking resolution, or like these are metaphors that to me don't make 100% sense.
I want to touch last round. I mentioned something. So there's something to be said about having, if you can get a single-ended amp that's just single-ended, no balance. You're going to get really good performance out of that, and it doesn't mean it's not as good as a balance. It just means it's single-ended and it's going to be performing. Yeah, I agree. Like, if you can. Balance is also twice as expensive because there's twice as many components in it. There's twice as many things
to make, not to make.
Buy. Sorry, not to buy. So you're adding more to it, so you're gonna have to pay for that more to it. So a single-ended amp is gonna be probably just as good per se than a balanced amp, and for much cheaper, if that makes sense. Like the Element's a perfect example. The Element 2, those. I mean, that's a fantastic little amp that's single-ended only. So I mean.
Because I think someone was saying that the TT2 is single-ended, because Rob Watts doesn't believe in the balanced stuff.
So it's actually balanced too, because you take the X out, and you get a balance adapter, and you plug them both in.
Oh, okay, I see.
And then it has a balanced out input out. Yeah.
Actually, MyTech does stuff like that, I think, as well, where they have they have like a cable that works as like a XLR out as well, that you just connect.
It just comes out the back instead of the.
Oh, okay, I got you. For full attention music listening, do you generally go full size headphones rather than IEMs? Correct? Yes, but see, I think you can do that full attention music listening thing with IEMs as well, especially because like these days I like to go, you know, hiking and stuff, or go out for walks with IEMs. It's like part of my like testing routine, I guess. And there's absolutely times like where I can just sit there in nature and like not pay attention to anything else, and just like, you know, focus on just the music. So I think it's totally possible with IEMs as well. But at my desk, when I'm testing stuff and like plugging into different sources and whatever and comparing headphones, it's mostly over ear headphones. Well, I do it with IEMs as well, but that's just something that I enjoy more on the go. What are your thoughts about EQ? I just applied the Harmon Target EQ to an LCD2C and can't come back. Classic or closed? I don't even know how I was enjoying them before. Yeah, the Harmon Target, the EQ for the Harmon Target on a planar, yes, I think it. Well, like not all planars, but something like an LCD2C would sound really good, especially compared to the default tuning, man. I also think you have to be. I'm not a fan of applying like the presets that have been done with. Okay, I'm not going to throw shade at Auto EQ and Jaco Passanen for his stuff, because I think it's really cool what he's doing. I just worry a little bit that people are going to use this and apply this in ways that end up messing up the sound, like from headphones that can't really handle it as much. So I advocate often more in favor of doing it yourself, and then kind of using wide Q values and using conservative EQ, Whereas what a lot of these profiles do is they'll analyze the frequency response, and then they'll automatically generate an EQ profile for it. And the Oratory doesn't do this anymore, by the way, but because like he does have very specific EQs as well. But I trust Oratories a little bit more than the automatically generated stuff, because he also takes into consideration when headphones can't do that. And I know he also takes in consideration the 9K dip that's supposed to be there. Whereas I'm not as confident that others are doing this or scrutinizing it as closely. So yeah, I tend to prefer doing it a little more conservatively, keep the flavor of the headphone a little bit, and then just adjust to taste. That's kind of my take on it. Because the other thing is, like, you don't know about the unit variation that was involved, and you don't know or if there was a revision or any of the rest of the stuff. And unit variation, like we've talked about this in the past, but it shows up in like most headphones. Like I can't think of, like, maybe the Sennheiser HD6XX and 650s and 600s, maybe they don't have unit variation, but
they probably do, just minimal, you know.
Most headphones, like even the Focals, have some unit variation, right? So
I mean,
there's a little bit there.
It's gonna have material.
It's just I think it's just a result of what transducers do, and you don't always know that the EQ profile you're applying is going to work perfectly for the headphone that you have, even if it's the same headphone.
Test Tech asks, Fostex Ebony, no longer available. Best slam in your review. What are the headphones should I check out for the best punch slam? And then
Focal.
Focal. Zackley also mentions the Emu Teaks, which are almost a direct replacement, especially if you go in and you can get the replacement cups.
Yeah.
And so those are really great.
Borealis slams. Yes, it does. Or the
Campfire
closed-back one as
Audio
well.
Cascade.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say that it doesn't slam. Well, it does slam. You just don't notice it because it's all a bass shelf.
They're definitely bassy.
I'm gonna get Chrono to review it. I'm gonna send it over to him. Be like, you have to review this.
I'm probably actually gonna be selling mine. Actually, maybe I'll do that and I'll send them over to him with all the pads. Or you have them too. So
I have them here, but you have all the pads and I don't. So that's the only reason I haven't reviewed it, is because maybe the other pads, fix the tuning.
I think the XL pads help, but they're still bassy.
They're still bassy, eh? Okay. Yeah. Well, there's also the other pads that are like the suede or something, or
they suck. If you have a beard, you're gonna hate them. Because I hate them.
I'm gonna throw a question to Precog here.
Yep.
If he's still with us,
boring
him with all these over your headphone conversations.
No worries.
The question for Precog is, have you had a chance to try the Legacy 5 and some of the other audio stuff that's coming out?
No, I haven't. I haven't tried any of the new stuff. I've tried only the Legacy 3 and Voyager 3. Voyager 14 too. That was their previous flagship, I think, briefly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't gotten my hands on the newer stuff yet.
Is there anything at the moment that's like because the Monarch and Clairvoyance are so like a week and a half ago. Is there anything that's like that like this week that you've seen that you're like, man, I really want to try that? Or say in the last little bit that
Let me think.
Because
I've not particularly. Oh, did you have something in mind?
Yeah,
what did you have in mind?
The SA6.
Oh, the new one, right?
Yeah,
I asked Tom about that. He's like, if they were going to do a tour with that, but I guess the logistics are kind of hard right now. With everything that's going on. But yeah, I'd love to hear that one too, because Ant seems to really like it.
That's the thing, is
it does measure nicely.
Yeah, I get most of my like hype from the stuff that Ant recommends, because I know my preferences kind of line up with his. So
yeah, they're pretty too. They're real pretty.
Oh, the SA6. Oh, that's
yeah. They did in a different shell design this time than their traditional one. Yeah.
Did you see the measurements of the P2 yet? The Tin Hi-Fi P2.
Ant doesn't like that one.
No, he does not like it.
I think. Well, the treble looks insane on that.
Yeah, that was the main issue.
Looks just nutty.
Yeah,
we've got to figure out something with. There's something with planars and closing off the shell is just looks impossible. Or I don't know, like they got to figure that out, because I want planar IEMs, man. And I don't want the
does the Odin
spider
have
thing.
A planar? Does it have?
No.
What did it have? It has some unique thing in there, right?
No, it's a tribrid. It's two dynamics, 6 BAs and 2 E-stats, I think.
E-stats, that's what I was saying. E-stats, sorry.
Or maybe it's 4 E-stats. It's 4 E-stats.
Yeah, I just remember there being like...
There's a lot. It's a lot of drivers. Sorry, it's the Monarch that's 2 E-stats, and it's the Odin, I think, is 4. Yeah. I could be wrong, but I think it's 4.
Yeah, it is 4.
Yeah. Okay, let's do 2 more questions, and then we'll call it, because we've been going for like over 2 hours. You can easily EQ a bass shelf into the RA. Yes, you can. The clear and LX slam well, but will clip if you listen to bassy music too loud. Blade Runner 2049 soundtrack. Never, like, even with these, off of the tube amp, which boosts the bass like crazy, I can't do it. I can't do it because I don't listen. I listen to music at like a 90 dB at most, and I don't want to push it further than that because it's so unrealistic that anybody would like. My take on the whole like driver clipping thing is, if they do it, you're probably going to damage your hearing.
Yeah.
It's probably not good for you. But even with that said, I've never experienced it. Like, not once. I've seen videos. I know what happens, and I'm sure that maybe there's like some variation as far as like some of them are more prone to it than others. But I've personally never experienced it once with any of the focals that I've had, like personally owned or evaluated. So my take at the moment is that either this is a QC issue, in which case RMA it, or it's an issue where people are listening at volumes that are bad for health. Okay, Tyler, pick a question and we'll answer it, and then we'll call it.
Let's see here. Anyone try the Rupert Neve RNHP amp?
Like, briefly. That's a we can't really go very much with that question.
Sorry.
briefly.
Yeah.
It was okay. I think it's a little low on the power side.
Yeah, a little on the power side. It sounds good. They're warm.
I was thinking about this because with the HD560S, this is 150 ohm, I think, and the 660S is 150 ohms. Sennheiser's other 600 series headphones are 300 ohms. The 600 and 650, 6XX, they're 300 ohm, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't understand why you would come out with a headphone that's 150 ohms when, if you have an amplifier that can power I don't know, maybe I'm wrong again, but I can't think of a common amplifier that can't do 300 ohm headphones. Like, they're coming down in price so dramatically. And so I keep thinking, like, well, if you can drive if you have an amp that can do 150 ohm headphones, it can probably do 300 ohm headphones too. So where's the advantage of going to 150 ohms? I just don't see it. I don't know. Maybe someone in the chat can let me know, like, if there's something that, maybe an iPhone dongle. I don't. It blows my mind that manufacturers are making stuff at 150 ohms, because that's like, it requires more power than you would be able to get without an amplifier, right? Like running it from a phone. But still, like, any amplifier that you would buy would be able to drive a 300 ohm headphone as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't see the benefit of lower impedance on that. And they can market it as easier to drive, but still not easy enough to drive it from a phone. It's not like a focal. I don't know. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
If budget is $2,500, would you just buy a VC versus Aeolus plus Icon? Greedy, I know. I would.
Yeah, I would just buy a VC and be done. I mean, at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's better to, rather than getting stuck in mid-fi hell, do what Precog did.
He went straight to 12.
Yeah. Just wait a little longer. Buy the higher end thing.
Yep.
Of course, then it ruins a lot of things after that
Yeah,
for you.
it does.
That's
Yeah,
the
but
other
you-
thing to consider.
But then you don't have to
Saves
worry
you
about
money
it
in the long
anymore.
run.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
The poor man buys twice. I think that's true.
I do not use EQ, Vincent Hush PH. Yeah. I don't really
Chrono will be probably putting together an EQ profile pretty
Yeah.
soon for that, I imagine. Okay, I think we've exhausted the questions. Yeah, I think we should probably call it there. What do you guys think? Unless there's anything else, any final thoughts from either of you guys? Precog, we haven't heard from you all that much.
I just want to apologize for not being as attentive as I should be. I've been trying to
you're good,
get
man.
some other work done.
Well, we the thing is, like with the rest of us, we're more like over your headphone guys, right? Whereas for you, you're the IEM king. So
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Anyways, that's gonna conclude this live stream. We'll look forward to chatting with everybody in the next one, and thanks everybody for your questions. So we'll see you guys soon.
Hasta